am I willing to send my children to war fighting? Everything that we know and that we cherish is on the line right now, and we have to be the people that step up and defend what we believe to be true. Iranian Air 655. Civilian airline from Tehran to Dubai, with like 300 women and children on it. A U.S. destroyer shot it out of the sky. One of our naval boats shot a civilian airliner out of the sky and killed everybody on it. Would I send my children to Iran? The answer is no. Every soldier that doesn't come home, their family is forever changed. And both you and I have plenty of friends that have experienced that with our friends.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that this is what I've landed on as a man, because
I have 4 dogs, and they've eaten all types of different food, and we recently found Team Dog, I believe this spring, so we've been on it for a year. Seeger was on it first, and Tiller was on it, and then we put the Goldens on it, and I mean, all the dogs eat less food, the dogs' coats are way better. Everything about Team Dog is, I'm very impressed. My dog trainer, Justin Allen, he uses it on all 60 dogs that are there for training. He's tried every single food in the game too, and they just stay super healthy on this Team Dog.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Financial stress is something that nobody really talks about that openly, but it affects almost everyone. At the start of 2026, about 88% of Americans reported feeling some form of it. What people don't realize is that money stress doesn't stay in your bank account. It shows up in your sleep, your relationships, your mood. It's always in the background. Now, here's the thing. Therapy isn't about financial advice. It's about managing the weight and anxiety that money struggles create so you can think clearly and feel less alone in it. BetterHelp matches you with a fully licensed therapist based on your specific needs. Over 30,000 therapists, 6 million people served worldwide. You can switch therapists anytime if it's not the right fit. When life feels overwhelming, therapy can help. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/micdrop. That's betterhelp.com/micdrop. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, it's both an honor and a pleasure to welcome my next podcast guest back to the show. He's a former Army Ranger with 14 deployments. He was a private contractor, a U.S. Marshal, Port of Seattle officer. He's the author of his new book, Courage Through Adversity, From the Battlefield to Brotherhood, Forging Discipline, Resilience, and Connection. He was also the show guest number 140 and 141. It was a two-parter. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage. One of the most Viking stoic dudes I know, Greg Anderson.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Thanks.
How long has it been?
140 and 140. It's been several years.
Yeah.
I remember it was not right after kind of the bulk of the COVID shutdowns, but it was not all too soon after all of that kind of wound down, and that's really where you and I had talked years ago about dogs back when our good buddy Seth was trying to connect you with me for a dog option or whatever.
Yeah.
And then fast forward, you were kind of all over the place with the COVID Seattle police officer stuff. And then you came on the show, and, we've kept in touch since, but man, what a wild journey. I'm curious, number one, what have you been up to since then? And kind of with one of the things you mentioned before we started is you feel politically homeless. I'd love to just kind of get a pulse for where you're at right now.
You want to open up with that then?
Yeah.
I think, I think we're at a weird time politically because our community, like the GWAT era veterans, that really, most of that community leans right and has conservative ideology. And, our community, who are the most capable war fighters of any men on planet Earth, we gave our whole youth to war fighting. And I don't complain about that or have a sob story about it, because we all volunteered to do it. And when I was young, I enjoyed it. I liked it. So it's not that I have any regrets or anything like that. But as we mature and we get older and we see the same cycle just repeating itself over and over and over, and now we're at the age where we're in our 40s and we're in our 50s, I don't feel comfortable sending young men to die unless what? Unless it is absolutely in America's interests. And over the past year, the Trump administration was always, they were echoing those sentiments, saying we're going to stop the wars, regime change is a waste of time. And then it was like almost overnight, we have to overthrow Iran. And here's the thing, Mike, like, do I have all the pieces? Like what people say all the time, so Trump's playing 4D chess and you don't understand. Okay, fine, right? But if you look at it on the surface, the things he campaigned on are not happening, and his base isn't happy with him. The thing that really pushed me over the edge is when Joe Kent resigned, because me and Joe Kent were young Rangers together. I've known Joe Kent for 25 years. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that Joe Kent is a good man. You can say whatever you want about his reasonings or why he's saying this or why he's saying that, but I know for a fact he was a stud Ranger. He's always been a good person. And the second he resigned, they started attacking him and trying to go after his character and saying like, oh, well, we have reason to believe he was leaking information. You want to tell me your director of national counterterrorism was leaking information and you didn't address it immediately? And it just lets you know, it's like all the things about the Biden administration that didn't sit well with guys like us is that you could never get a clear answer. They were always talking out of both sides of their mouth. We're seeing the same thing play out now.
Yeah.
You know, I saw Trump say not too long ago, he's like, he was talking about Shannon getting killed. And he goes, and then Joe Kent went and got married. And it was very soon afterwards. Like trying to take a little jab at him, like his morals and his ethics. And Joe didn't marry Heather until 2023. It was 4 years after he lost Shannon.
Yeah.
And it's just, you can see now that they're not standing in truth. They're playing this shell game, and that's not what we voted for.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I mean, it's disappointing to say the least, and I think that that tactic of the character jabs and it's such a high school gossip mentality of, like as long as we're friends, you're the best guy I've ever met. And the second, you do something that pisses me off, you're a terrible person.
Yeah,
it's like,
he's weak on security.
Yeah,
he was always weak on security.
It's like, then why would you put him in that position?
Yeah, that doesn't make Joe look bad. That makes you look bad.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. That whole, I hate to even call it a leadership style because it's the antithesis of leadership.
Exactly. Why couldn't he have just simply said like, hey, some things have come to light that have made me look at this Iran conflict differently. Me and Joe no longer see eye to eye. And because of that, he's stepping down. I wish him the best. Like, whew.
Yeah, to me,
but they're so afraid of anybody with any type of pull or leadership capabilities like Joe has. They're so afraid of him saying something that can detract from their movement that they think the right answer is just smear campaign immediately. And we're all sick of that kind of stuff.
Well, to me, it's not even just being sick of it. It does the exact opposite of what you're trying to accomplish too.
Yes.
Because it's like most people see right through that. Yes, there's some folks on social media who get wrapped up into it. I'm sure 90% of them are Chinese and Iranian and Russian bots. But,
yeah.
But there are some people who legitimately, jump on that bandwagon and just echo whatever they hear come out of the administration. But to me, it's the same way as handling the press. If they criticize you, if you calmly and confidently say, yeah, you know what, you're right, I probably could have handled that better. Hopefully I'll do better next time.
Yeah.
If you answer any criticism that way, where does somebody who's trying to press you go from there? Like, you can't really keep saying, yeah, you did fuck that up. It's like, yeah, you're right.
Their inability to have the humility to admit fault on anything.
I know it.
Just lets you know, like you said, that it's the antithesis of leadership. Like, I don't care who you are, what your position is, you can fuck things up.
Yeah.
Welcome to being a human being. And their inability to admit that, it's gross. And I think it's pushing guys like, all the guys from our community are like, they want to go hands off with this.
Agreed. Yeah. I see it. I see the same sentiments that I have and feel echoed throughout, any guy that I know at all within the space that has any type of platform or even if they don't, I mean, just guys that I've talked to, outside the realm of, social media or in the public at all, I don't know a single guy who doesn't feel the same way, and it's like if there's a group of people, not to say that the GWAT Generation X, group of individuals has everything figured out or the smartest people on the planet. However, like if there's a group of people that has experience that's relevant to, what's happening now, what needs to happen, mistakes to avoid, and ultimately, and most importantly, lessons learned, it's probably that group of people.
Yeah, you would think.
And especially when you look at how mishandled the Afghanistan withdrawal was, like what a great opportunity to come in and not do stupid shit like that again. And yet here we are in the same stupid cycle over and over.
Well, what even is the objective in Iran?
I don't know.
Like, you would think that would be first and foremost, this is our objective. Because it was, they can't have nuclear capabilities. And then in June, they said nuclear capabilities were obliterated. And then every single time you hear them talk about it, they're weeks away. They're weeks away. There's videos from the 90s.
Yeah.
Saying they're weeks away.
Yeah,
okay?
I've seen that. Netanyahu in like 96 saying they're a couple weeks from having
weeks
nuclear.
away.
Yeah.
And that we all know that's just fear-mongering, right? And so we obliterated their nuclear capabilities, and now we need regime change? Oh, well, they're killing their own citizens. Okay, well, what is your objective? Yeah. Are we the world police now? Why aren't we going to Rwanda then?
Why aren't we going to China?
Yeah, that's, And so it's very clear that it's just a shell game. The goal line's always moving, and people don't want to be people don't want to be affiliated with an administration that's doing that. Yeah. I mean, you heard it here first. That lost midterms.
Yeah.
That's a guarantee.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I will say is, the political cycle, like we were talking about before we even sat down to record, is so fast and things change and happen so quickly. Who knows? I mean,
that's true. Yeah, this could be forgotten.
I mean, think about the last 30 days of the wins and how they've shifted and, popularity and whatever. But again, I think, to your point, the concern with polling or looking weak or, second guessing a decision you made or whatever is seen as weakness to them. Anybody who's actually had to make those tough decisions where, friends of theirs' lives have been lost because of them, all understand that mistakes are made, and by ignoring them, you don't learn anything. Mm-hmm. I don't understand how anybody in those positions who have to make decisions all day, every day, don't just inherently learn that relatively quick.
I don't know, man. It's the people that rise to political power 9 times out of 10 are not competent leaders.
Yeah.
They're people that are driven by greed, driven by power. And we're seeing it play out in real time. And then people are like, well, why don't you run? And it's like, you talk to a lot of our friends have tried to run. Yeah. The system is so entrenched with corruption that I just don't know if you can stop this machine unless it's some type of catastrophic failure.
Not only that, I think there's two or maybe even 3 parts to it. One, yes, it's so corrupt. It's such an uphill battle, which, that's not a reason not to do something because, it's going to be tough. But the whole opposition research angle that it starts with basically is that, whoever it is that's running, there's going to be a team of people and millions of dollars digging up every tweet, every post, every X you've ever had, any situation you've ever been in your life where something's happened. And even then, a lot of times they'll take that and then run with it and over exaggerate. I mean, I've seen so many guys, them and their families just get absolutely crucified for even trying to run. It's like, well, who wants that?
Well, and I've thought about that because there is still a part of me that believes at some point in my future, some type of political office may be something that I aspire to do. And it's exactly what you said earlier, though. Oh, back on episode 26 of your podcast, we heard you say this. Yeah, I did say that. Yeah. And I'll say it again right now if you want me to. Oh, does that language hurt your feelings? Like, someone just has to throw it right back at them and not be afraid of those tactics. Because what does everybody do? They try and play cleanup, and they're trying to be careful. And it's like, I think when the time comes, America will be ready for people that are just like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I did say that. And you thought you were going to have a I got you moment, and it's not working.
Yeah.
Because people are sick of I got you moments. What people want is real people telling truth, regardless if it hurts your feelings or not.
Yeah.
Have you seen all the stuff coming out of Iran where they're calling us the Epstein administration?
No.
Dude.
It's coming out of Iran?
Yeah, they're like actually making cartoons and stuff. And you watch it and it's like, oh, the things they're saying, I actually agree with. And that's when you know we're in a weird spot politically.
For sure. Is there any part of what's going on right now that you agree with or are okay with or think is a good idea?
Well, here's the thing, Mike, because for me to speak on the necessity of overthrowing the Iranian regime, I'm not super well read on it. I don't have all the facts. I just have to look at it at surface level and kind of use my intuition. And the conclusion that I've come to, and some people will say, oh, put your tinfoil hat on, but Netanyahu was standing before Congress in 2002 telling us why we need to go into Iraq and overthrow Saddam Hussein. He's weeks away from nuclear capabilities. It looks like the same playbook just being used over and over and over. And why are we just so dead set on being part of all of these wars that Israel is a big part of the foundational reason of why they're getting started? And how many Israeli troops did you serve with in Iraq or Afghanistan?
The same as you, zero.
Yeah, zero, right? So he's in D.C. telling us that we should go overthrow Saddam, but they're not partaking. Like, what's really going on here? And I think it runs a lot deeper than most of us think. And I think everybody's starting to see that the Epstein stuff, the Israeli stuff, the endless wars, they're all interconnected, and people are starting to put the pieces together. And it's pretty terrifying to think that our own government is filled with compromised people. But can we really come to another conclusion at this point?
Not really.
I just don't think that you can.
Yeah, I mean, none that make more sense than that.
Well, and here's another thing. Like, I think it's important for guys like us to talk about, because 20 years ago when we were Rangers and SEALs and someone said Free Palestine, they had a Free Palestine shirt on, what was our reaction? Fucking stupid liberals. Fuck those people. Dumb college students. Like, it was so like a left and a right issue, and people on the right didn't care about Palestine. Israel's our greatest ally. Fuck Palestine. And that was just the sentiment. And then you see that thousands of children have been killed since October 7th. And that's their numbers. That was Mike Huckabee's numbers. Thousands. We spend a lot of time in combat zones, and I've seen dead kids in combat zones. But when we were in Ramadi and Fallujah in 04 and 05 during like the height of the war, one of the biggest considerations on a daily basis was still collateral damage. Like, do you remember they used to have the AC-130s that could push out frequencies to detonate IEDs? And we would ask to have those run through the city before our patrols. And they say, we actually can't because of how busy the streets are. We can't risk collateral damage. Now, I'm not saying that's wrong necessarily, right? Like, collateral damage should be a consideration. I was in Ramadi for almost 2 years off and on over several deployments. No part of that city looks like anything that we see coming out of Gaza.
Yeah.
So what is really going on here? And just to ask that question, there's certain people that on the right that like, we're the enemy now. Yeah. Oh, you really stand with terrorists? They fund Hamas. The Hamas fighters are in the same buildings with the kids. Okay, well, our units went door to door and fought them. We didn't just get to drop JDAMs on every single building that might have a Hamas fighter in it. And so when you detach emotionally and you just look at it logically, there's more than meets the eye here. And I think we should all agree as men, killing thousands of children isn't something that we should be a part of. And we're giving $3 billion a year to Israel, and then they use that money to buy weapons back from us. And they're blowing up, and now they're blowing up Beirut, Lebanon, and they killed 500 people. How many of those people are Hamas fighters? Like, I feel like that ship has sailed.
Yeah, I agree, but I also think, I mean, to be fair, I think it's one of those scenarios where, multiple things can be true at once.
I agree with that.
Is that, does Israel have a right to defend itself? Of course they do. Should, on the same token, does that mean they should be able to, JDAM bomb and airstrike their way into thousands of civilian deaths? No. On the same token, should Hamas and Hezbollah, should they get a free pass and be allowed to, have co-located operations facilities with hospitals and mosques and schools and playgrounds and whatever? No, that's also a pretty fucked up tactic. It seems like, both sides are guilty of doing some pretty horrific things.
Agreed.
October 7th was a pretty horrific thing. Does that mean two wrongs mean a right? No, it doesn't. And I think that's the problem, is like the society gets reduced to such a singularity. You're either for it or against it, and it's like, well, it's really not that simple, because both sides are doing horribly wrong things. Mm-hmm. And it's just this like incestuous cycle that creates and continues mass carnage and terror on all sides.
And I'm to a point, and again, like some people think this is tinfoil hat. I'm not saying that like October 7th or 9/11 were necessarily like inside jobs. I wouldn't put it past our governments at this point either. But do you hear what Charlie Kirk said shortly before he was killed, talking about October 7th? Mm-mm. He's like, I've flown from one side of Israel to the other in a helicopter, and it takes like an hour. How was it a 6-hour response?
Yeah.
How was it? Can anyone answer why it took 6 hours to get boots on the ground and respond to that? And there's just a lot of things like that popping up. It's like, what's really going on here? But here's the thing this is what I've landed on as a man, because I'm a small business owner. I have small children. I'm trying to live the American dream. I'm trying to be an entrepreneur and raise a family. And I think most of us that are just trying to do that as men are sick and tired of all of our tax dollars and all of our government's focus being what's going on in the Middle East. Because it just seems like it's going on endlessly. Like, maybe we should focus on our education system, our infrastructure, trying to build the wealth of our citizens. And I think we know each other well enough. I think we would both agree, like, if America is in the place financially to be able to help other countries, I don't think that anyone would have a problem with that. But you can't fix your neighbor's house until you fix your house. And I think we have a lot of problems that we need to address here. Just look at the tax, all the stuff going on with the tax dollars, all the leering centers, like all that stuff, right? It's a shit show here.
Yeah.
And I'm from Washington State. They just implemented an income tax last month, which is a violation of law, a violation of the Constitution. And you just see they're just moving the goalpost further and further and further, taking more and more of our money. And then our focus is always external things instead of what's going on right here at home.
I think that's a great point, and one that so often I think in the media, whether it's mainstream or even podcasts or whatever, is that we tend to get the blinders on a singular specific issue, or you get so far in the weeds on whatever the thing is. To me, it kind of reminds me of like competition jiu-jitsu guys who will spend 2 hours arguing about what a move is called, or, well, no, technically you're supposed to do, it's like, just look at the big picture for a second. And in that vein, I'm curious to get your take on our involvement in the Middle East, or generally foreign policy wise, kind of from the 30,000 foot view. Do you subscribe to or desire more of an isolationist standpoint?
I think so. I think that's where I'm landing now. The whole reason we went to Vietnam was for the containment policy to contain communism, right? And it feels like every time we interject ourselves into conflicts on other parts of the world, it doesn't seem to benefit American citizens. Like, obviously losing our military men, that's obviously the biggest concern, but financially as well. And politically, like, why are we always dabbling in everybody else's affairs? Yeah. And you just look at our track record. It seems like everything we've gotten involved in over the last 50 years goes to shit. Yeah. And then we come home and say, we messed that up.
Yeah.
And then we messed that up. Like, what were we doing in Iraq? What were we really doing there?
or for about 19 years and 7 months in Afghanistan.
Yeah, what were we doing there?
Yeah.
And now we're giving the Taliban, is it $80 million a month or something?
I think it's a week. It's
A
like
week?
40 million a week or
Like,
something.
what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, why am I running a business, raising a family, paying tax that now goes to the Taliban when you and I were there fighting those men for a large portion of our lives? Like, what are we really doing? And, when you have these conversations, people will be like, well, you don't understand because once you're in, you have the full picture and it's 4D chess. And there may be elements of that are truth. Then tell me the 4D chess.
Yeah.
If you're spending my tax dollars to play 4D chess, then maybe we should deserve to know what the objective is and what we're really doing. And we're not seeing it.
No, I agree. And I think another thing that doesn't get brought up kind of in that same realm is, if you think about our involvement all over the world, but most specifically in the Middle East, and how many factions, even countries, or groups, regions, what have you, that despise and hate America. The whole "Death to America" chant in Iran, as an example. But even
how much of that is propaganda, though? That's what I'm starting to wonder. Who knows, right?
Yeah. Well, I will say, if the fact that we're there institutes or maybe constitutes, elicits an attack, I think kind of tells you where their mentality is. And the reason I bring that up is that if you look at China as an example, and I'm not saying China has a textbook well-run country. I certainly wouldn't want our country to be run like China. However, it's impossible to argue that they have at least as much, if not more, of their fingers in, from an economic standpoint, all over the world than we do. Like they have their hooks in everything. Venezuela, Iran, most of Africa. There are aspects of Chinese economic and industry and energy and rare earths. All kinds of stuff going on where they have citizens, companies, involvement, etc.
Well, it's because the CCP has a 1,000-year plan.
Right, but here's the one thing that they don't have in those areas. They don't have aircraft carriers and air bases with combat platforms on them, right? And like you don't see any of these countries chanting death to China, right? You don't have people trying to stream into the country of China to enact terrorism or to change their societal views on things or whatever. And again, this is not me saying we should be more like China across the board. I do think that their idea of having some sort of or level of nationalism makes sense, and I think we've lost our way in that regard.
Agreed.
But my point is that they have aspects of their fingerprints over parts of all over the world that in some instances and in many instances we don't have, but they don't have the problem with terrorism that we have. They don't have the hatred of them as a culture the way that we have all over the world.
Remember when we were young, like, what were we told were the reasons why they were chanting death to America?
Oh, it's because they hate that we have freedom.
Our freedom.
Yeah, which is a total crock of shit.
A total crock of shit. I spent a large portion of my youth deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, walking in the mountains of the Hindu Kush, looking for Osama bin Laden. And they're the terrorists. They're the terrorists. They just want to kill us because we're Americans and we're free. And my 22-year-old brain was just like, yep, fuck these guys. Let's find them and kill them all. At 45 years old, when I look at this from a different lens, a perfect example. Have you read about Iranian Air Flight 655? You want to have your mind blown? And this isn't conspiracy theory. It's on Wikipedia. For your listeners, go read about Iranian Air 655. Civilian airline from Tehran to Dubai with like 300 women and children on it. A U.S. destroyer shot it out of the sky. One of our naval boats shot a civilian airliner out of the sky and killed everybody on board. George Bush Sr. was the president at the time. You know what his response was? We don't apologize to Iran. We believe that plane left its projected flight path and our destroyer deemed it a threat and shot it down. Wouldn't even apologize. Osama bin Laden then said, the next time I have access to a U.S. destroyer, I'm going to retaliate. And that was the USS Cole. Don't you think men like us that are over there fighting these people should know a little bit about the history? They try and button that up as much as they can. Like, we are complicit in this stuff too.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to admit that. And it's like, dude, if a foreign military had a boat going to Puget Sound and shot a plane out of the sky that had my wife and my children in it, you don't think the rest of my life would be like, how do I get this back?
Yeah.
Of course it would be. Yeah. And it made me realize, like, oh, maybe Osama bin Laden is like you or I. You fucking killed my family. And I'm not saying he had direct family, but just that's the concept, right? You're killing our women and our children with your boats over here in our land. I'm going to get you guys next time you come back in. That actually makes perfect logical sense to me. That doesn't mean I support Al-Qaeda and those regimes and whatnot, because like fundamentalist Islam was like, that was our arch enemy for 10, 15 years of our life. But when you detach emotionally and you just say, okay, why are these people saying these things? Why are these people doing these things? It wasn't because there's some guys on the other side of the planet that have freedom and we hate them.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I view it as, again, kind of one of those multiple things can be true at once. I think it's impossible to ignore from a societal standpoint kind of how backwards and brutal a lot of the places that we find ourselves fighting in are. I mean, there's countless examples of the type of treatment to women, to children, especially in Afghanistan.
Of course.
I mean, the way that the Iranian regime treats their people, the way Saddam treated their people, all of those things I think are diametrically opposed to, the kind of core values and beliefs. And a guy like Osama bin Laden, I think, revels in that type of society, which I couldn't disagree with more. The principle of wanting retribution for actions, I certainly understand. How a lot of the regimes and entities, organizations over there go about it, I disagree with. But I think the broader point that I wonder is, if we were to pull all of our troops out of the Middle East as a region, all of our ships, all of our bases, Qatar, Bahrain, all of it, and just say, you know what, you guys figure it out, for a period of however many years, would they still be, chomping at the bit to come fight and kill Americans? Probably for a little while, just because of the aftermath. But I don't think that over time that they would continue to have such a hatred of America. I mean, no different than if China or Russia had, 4 carrier battle groups, 20 miles off the coast of San Clemente Island. You think we're going to just be like, oh yeah, no problem, or
even worse, they're patrolling your streets.
Yeah, or an air base in Tijuana.
Yeah.
I mean, even just, from a provocation standpoint, I mean, yes, of course, if China decided, this Christian-based democracy thing you guys have going on doesn't really serve our interest, we're going to come overthrow your government and institute a Buddhist-based communism, government. Of course, you and I are going to be the mass dudes running around fucking trying to kill them.
We get to be the insurgents then.
Yeah.
That's why I have it, one of our podcast shirts says American Insurgent.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what men like us would be doing.
BUBS Naturals has been supporting this show for a very long time, and I've been a fan of their collagen for years. I use it every single day. But I have to tell you, I'm genuinely fired up about what they just launched. It's their creatine monohydrate. Now look, creatine isn't anything new. Most of you know what it does. It's more energy, faster recovery, lean muscle, better focus under stress and fatigue. It's one of the most researched supplements on the planet, recognized by the International Society of Sports Nutrition. The problem is most creatine on the market is garbage. A recent study found roughly 50% of creatine products exceeded impurity limits, and most of it's manufactured in China with zero accountability. BUBS sources exclusively from CreaPure. It's made in Germany under very strict quality controls. It's the purest creatine monohydrate available. There's no fillers, there's no hype. 100% NSF for Sport certified. You know exactly what you're putting in your body. And here's what makes BUBS different from any other supplement company out there. The brand is a tribute to former Navy SEAL Glenn "Bub" Doherty, who laid down his life serving Americans in Benghazi. Glenn stood for self-improvement and always helping others. That's the DNA of this entire brand. BUBS donates 10% of all profits to charity in his honor. That's a company absolutely worth supporting. Live better longer with BUBS Naturals. For a limited time, get 20% off your entire order with code MicDrop, all caps, all one word, at bubsnaturals.com. That's BUBS Naturals.com. Code MicDrop for 20% off. For sure, but to me, like that's the broader, like, take a step back for a second and, even going back to, the Sun Tzu art of war, knowing your enemy, like, understand what, like, even if we can all agree that whether we're at war with them or not, if they decide they're at war with us, you better pay attention. But I think understanding why, and it doesn't mean capitulate and do whatever it takes the way, some aspects of Britain and France in World War II tried to capitulate to Hitler and, quell the inevitability of World War II from happening. I'm not subscribing to that as a mentality, but understanding what their problem is, I think, is step one to either understanding how you defeat it or figuring out a way to say, what we're doing is causing a lot of the problems that we continue to face decade after decade.
For sure. I mean, you can even correlate it to being a 25-year-old kid at a bar with your chest puffed out and you're just looking for problems, right?
Maybe don't go out that night.
Maybe don't go out that night. Or if a problem, true story, this happened last week, right? Like, I'm in an intersection, all the cars or the car in front of me stopped and there's no other cars. And the guy's just sitting there. So I beeped the horn. Full disclosure, I probably is more than a beep. I held it, a little beep is okay. But if you hold it down for any period of time, that causes conflict.
Yep.
And the guy puts his hand out the window and says, "Fuck you," and flip me off. And then we both end up in the Home Depot parking lot. But I'm not 25-year-old Greg anymore. I'm 45-year-old Greg.
Yeah.
And I could see him. He kept looking back at me because obviously we just had a little bit of a conflict. Is there something that's going to happen? And then I see him take a baby out of his car seat or out of the car seat and put it in the cart. And I literally told because my wife was with me, I was like, there's obviously not going to be any type of conflict with a man with a baby. And I'm going to go apologize to him. And I did. And he shook my hand and he goes, "Yeah, I'm sorry too, man." And it was literally like, whew, the air was cleared.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like our government is that childish 25-year-old that just wants to fight all the time. And they don't have the humility or the maturity to be like, "Hey, my bad."
Well, there's also a recurring theme of the childish mentality type of person that's in our government that's making those decisions have never been in the position that you and I have been in.
Yeah.
Like they haven't actually fought and decided to start. It's always somebody else's kids. It's always.
This is my metric. I've thought a lot about this. This is my metric to say if I support a war or not. Am I willing to send my children to it? Because there is a scenario where both myself and my own children, hey guys, everything that we know and that we cherish is on the line right now. And we have to be the people that step up and defend what we believe to be true.
Yeah.
Would I send my children to Iran? The answer is no. In fact, not only is it no, if they do implement a draft, you ain't taking my fucking kids. That is off the table. Like, that is where we will start to see shit get crazy.
Yeah.
You are not taking my kids and sending them to Iran. And I was having a debate with a friend of mine the other day, and she was like, "Well, I think Trump sees things that we don't understand, and regime change is necessary." And she has a 16-year-old son. I said, would you be good sending him to fight this war? And now it's a little different. That's your own child. But every single soldier is somebody's child. We have to honor that. That's important. We're not just numbers. Those are people. Those are citizens. And those are people that raised their right hand and said, "I want to defend the United States if I'm ever called to do so." They're honorable people. And to just send them into things without a 100% understanding of truth and having a commitment that's based on a plan that has an outcome and everything is strategically understood. If we're not willing to do that, I'm not willing to send my kids to it.
I mean, it's a brilliant point, and I wish somebody in the press corps would ask Trump that.
Yeah.
Like, would you be okay? Would you be willing to send Barron over there if it came to that? Like, is it that important to you?
And that's the thing. People can scoff at that all they want, but the truth is, every soldier that doesn't come home, their family is forever changed. And both you and I have plenty of friends that we've experienced that with our friends.
Yeah.
It's an important decision. And again, I'm not saying it's a decision that we can't arrive at, but you better exhaust every single resource diplomatically. You better trying to do everything that you can do to make sure that our kids aren't coming home in body bags. Mm-hmm. And that's where we start to see this elitist class of people. They're not sending their kids over there. You know, you think Barron's going to get drafted if that happens?
Yeah, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. And so now it's like, you know, it's good for thee or good for me, but not for thee. That stuff doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And I also think I think the internet is changing the landscape, because for the longest time, you just consume whatever's being fed through your television or your radio, and we just hold these perspectives based on a very limited amount of knowledge. And now you can see it all. And I think there's a shift occurring, and I think it's a necessary shift.
I agree. I do have a concern with that. There is a kind of a happy medium. I'm not sure how you accomplish that without a level of government control and censorship that I would not be okay with. But one of the downsides is now it becomes so difficult between AI and just anybody with a phone has a platform, has the same amount of platform as anybody else. It's becoming increasingly difficult to sift through the absolute utter nonsense and completely manufactured things versus what's actually accurate.
And that's everywhere.
Yeah.
That's on the major media outlets. That's on Instagram. That's on Facebook.
I mean, it's in every country even, you know, or most.
And you want to know what's bizarre about it? A lot of the fake stories coming out aren't even about anything of any relevance. It's just like some story about this politician did this or whatever it is, and then you dig a little deeper. Not only is it like it's not even a skewed story, it's 100% fabricated. Mm-hmm. And there's a bunch of these stories that are coming across our feed that are complete fabrications. Yeah. I mean, I think about this stuff all the time. I honestly don't know if a country of 350 million people can band together under one style of leadership. I don't think it's congruent with our DNA and who we are as human beings. From the beginning of time until very recently, human beings lived our culture was tribal. We had, people in hundreds, maybe thousands at the most, but our leaders had to look us in the eye. We knew each other intimately. The men would hunt and defend. They were warriors. They were brothers, and there was like this camaraderie and this cohesion, and that's what made it work. We don't experience that as Americans anymore. I mean, I just had coffee at Black Rifle up the street with a friend of mine before I got here, and we were talking about that. Just flying here on the plane, and I'm as guilty of it as anyone. Everybody is just sitting here, staring at their phone, and like, do you remember when we were young, when you would get on a flight? Everybody would be talking to each other. Hey, where are you from? Where are you going? Oh, my son lives here. And people are connecting. And I don't know if there's a way out of this. I think it might just be another progression of humanity moving towards our overall demise. Yeah. And I know that sounds kind of dark, but it just feels like if you look at the trajectory we're on financially, morally, ethically, it doesn't seem like a sustainable trajectory. So at what point does something give? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think to come out of it with any sense of balance or getting back to normal, if there is such a thing, I think it would take such an almost apocalyptic type of scenario.
Have you read the book 1 Minute After?
I haven't.
I just read it, and that's exactly what it is. And I'm not saying we need that or I hope that happens. I just think at some point that's inevitable and the story in the book is electromagnetic pulse takes out the power grid of America. And within 90 days, people are literally eating each other. And I think that would probably be true.
For sure it would.
And is that what we need? I don't think it's what we need, because it wouldn't be we anymore. It would be the birth of something new that we can't even sit here and really comprehend. I just think that's probably where it's headed sooner or later. And it could be a natural disaster, it could be a EMP, it could be whatever. But once the control is lost, good luck regaining it.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way to do it. And I've heard some people talk about, the criticisms of smartphones and social media and the internet, generally speaking, of being the downfall of humanity. And I've heard people kind of give the counter argument that, the same thing was said, when newspapers became a thing.
I've thought about that.
Yeah, is that, it went from now everybody's reading a newspaper and nobody's, but there's a huge difference between that is that that's not in real time. And there's not international access to every other human being on the planet that shares whatever application you're on or whatever. And that's the big thing from a foreign influence standpoint that I don't think most people realize is that, prior to 2008, for anybody living outside of the United States to get in front of the eyeballs of an American citizen was excruciatingly difficult on a large scale.
Yep, of course.
Because every bit of information that you heard was either on mainstream media, in a newspaper, a magazine, a book, whatever. Every one of those institutions are institutions that has a board of directors, that has editors, that has gatekeepers of that information before it's published. Wrong, right, or indifferent, yes, it's going to be...
That's the truth, though. Yeah, it's going to be skewed one way or the other, but that's the truth.
But it's still very difficult. Like, Russia can't bombard the United States with an opinion the way they can now. And I've even seen, I had one guest on talking about, he was a former CIA guy that does a lot of, tech space, cryptologic type stuff now, security-wise. Talking about, Russia and China gaming the chat GPT and the AI search-based networks by flooding. Like, they have buildings of people who are publishing articles and things basically to sway the results in chat GPT and Grok and whatever, because it's searching the internet. It has a very different algorithm than Google, but it's essentially turning it into the same thing, where it can skew the results because it's putting so much information saying the same things in a different way through different outlets and whatever, that it's now manipulating even AI-based search platforms, so it's this constant cat and mouse game. But my point is that, World War II as probably the best example is that, the ability to have propaganda shy of dropping pamphlets from an airplane overhead was almost impossible. It really was impossible from a large scale. And I think that's the big difference now is if you can have a 14-year-old who anybody on the planet can find a way to get in front of their eyeballs and tell them, whatever story or narrative or agenda they want, that is an incredibly difficult thing to deal with.
And how do we correct course on this? I don't even know if there's a way outside of like what we talked about.
Yeah, not to sound like I am blowing China or I'm a sympathizer to their government, but I do think, when I see some of their policies, not all, some of their protocols from an internet and Instagram and TikTok and only allowing certain things to be played. Like, I almost want to kick my own ass for saying, like, I actually can understand some forms of censorship and in that, like that's a concern that's never been a concern before. And so it's difficult to navigate because you don't know. There is such a thing as, I think, as being so open to where when you're talking about international influence, like that's a whole different ball game. The freedom of speech, like I agree with that within the United States 1,000% and should never be touched. Apps on the internet where you have minors who have access to them, and now you have anybody in the world able to influence that. I don't know how you control that without going
without some
full-blown
type of censorship.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, and I agree with you because it would be nice to live in a world where everybody can do whatever they want, right? It's absolute freedom. But what are we seeing with absolute freedom? Like, our youth's minds are being poisoned. And anybody that's listening that has kids in the public school system will agree with what I'm saying. I had to pull my kids out of school because of the stuff they would come home and say. And it's like, nope, we're not going to be part of this system anymore. I mean, we have 12-year-old girls that don't want to have tits because they think they're a boy, and someone put that idea in their mind, and then everybody supports it, and there's all these websites and all these pages, and everybody thinks that stuff's okay. And we all know that it's not okay. We all know that it's mass manipulation, that it's poisoning the minds of our children. I mean, I think it's all by design to weaken us as a people and cause more division. But it's crazy that we sit here in the year 2026, and that's a discussion to have, is, do you think we can mutilate kids that think they were born the wrong sex? And there's a portion of people that say, yes, I think that we should do that. And we're going to look back on this one day like we do lobotomies.
I hope so.
Yeah. If not, that means the apocalypse occurred, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the mouse Utopia? Have you ever read that study?
Yeah.
That's what's happening right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're a victim of our own success.
Exactly.
In most ways, I would say. And I want to kind of clarify, like, my thoughts and concerns around censorship and, the control of information and what makes sense and where is that kind of happy medium or fine line. Like, how do you navigate that? And I'm not saying I have the answer, and I'm not saying that I'm for censorship either. What I do think warrants looking at is figuring out a way to limit or cease foreign influence, into our society.
Yeah.
And that I don't know if it's even possible. I'm not a tech guy.
Well, doesn't China do that with their tech?
They do. But that's to me, that's one of those slippery slope things, kind of like gun control.
100%. You don't want our government saying you can't consume stuff out of this country or that country.
Yeah.
Like, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, because as soon as you allow that, you never get that back. So. As we work through this, it's like there's no good answer.
Like the Patriot Act.
Yeah, 100%. It's like, trust us.
Yeah.
This is for our best interest, and we want to keep the country secure. It's like, however. So again, like, for those listening, thinking that we're jumping on the bandwagon to enact mass censorship, I know I'm not saying that. I don't think you are. However, as we're kind of talking and I'm even thinking through it, to me, it kind of boils down to, at the end of the day, it's personal responsibility of, if you have children,
100%,
of you controlling what they have access to. And I would always rather that than the government having any control over that. The problem is most parents are fucking lazy.
Yep.
And would rather hand their kid an iPad so that they can watch porn or take a nap or scroll Facebook or whatever than sit there and teach them something or tell them to be bored for 2 hours and figure out something to do that doesn't involve a screen.
There again, that's how we know we're kind of fucked, right? Because if you want to outsource the raising of your children to the government, who by all metrics is one of the most dysfunctional organizations to ever exist, what do you think the outcome is going to be?
Yeah.
Like I always say, if any small business ran like the government ran, it wouldn't make it 1 year.
No.
I mean, you remember when we were young Rangers and SEALs, like spendexes?
Yeah.
Hey guys, this is how much money we have for the fiscal year. If we don't use it all up, we won't get as much next year. Go shoot 50,000 rounds and throw 3 pallets of smoke grenades and all this stuff. And it's like, and then it was the same thing in the feds. Our this fiscal year's budget, we need to reach this. And everybody is just spending as much money as they can so they get more money the following year. And then when budgets don't, when people don't fall within the constraints of their budget, there's no accountability. There's no punishment. If you and I did that with our personal businesses, we would go bankrupt. Yeah. It's a very simple process.
Or the bank would take your house.
Yeah, or the bank would take your house. But there's no accountability. And I think that that's a big part of the problems that we're having. I was thinking about it when you were just talking about all of the social media stuff and the bots and the propaganda. We don't have any accountability with our leadership. And if you were caught lying or manipulating or putting your people at risk here so you can benefit over there, that kind of stuff you'd end up at the end of a rope.
Yeah.
And now we have all of those things happening all the time, and there's no accountability. I think that an element of fear is probably a good thing. And it's like, hey, if I fuck over all my constituents, they're going to be out my front yard with pitchforks.
Yeah.
That's how you maintain people operating in some type of moral and ethical manner. It's so far past that now. And if you just say something like that, it's like, oh, you're a right-wing wacko. It's like, okay, well, if these people aren't going to shift their behavior for any other reason than being concerned for their own personal safety, what is your solution?
Well, not only that, I think most people's solution is, exercise your right to vote. I agree. I agree.
I agree too, but
however,
how's that working out for us?
Well,
I also think the two-party system is a scam in itself too.
Agreed.
We had Donald Trump and Kamala Harris.
Oh, yeah.
You mean to tell me those are the two best suited leaders in America? We both know that's not the case.
Yeah.
Now, again, though, it's just like you said a few minutes ago. What is the solution? It's hard to say. Everything's so entrenched.
Yeah, I've had a theory for years now. I actually put it in my Unfuck America book, and I've talked about it, on a few different episodes. But to me, I'm not advocating, nor would I ever want to see a full blown, revolution 2.0. Like I have no desire to see that happen in our country. There is an element of other than completely hitting the reset button and burning the entire system to the ground, what is the fix? To me, there's one happy medium potentially, that I can think of that may do it, and that's basically rewiring the election system as it relates to the House of Representatives only. This, I think, theory would never work on a national scale because it's too broad, and there would be too many there would be too many people who are considered for that position for it to make sense. However, if you think about, the three branches of government really all hinge on the House of Representatives, right? Is that nothing is going to happen, whether it's a Supreme Court justice being, allowed to take position, all of the different bills that are passed, declaring war. But on a broader scale is that is the collective mean average representation of the country by small group. Mm-hmm. The problem with it is that it's run similar to a presidential campaign in that a lot of it has to do with how much money you have, who you know, connections, etc., and it's corrupt. It's wildly corrupt, not at the same scale as the presidential election, again, just because there are so many people and it's broken up into individuals scattered all over the country. But imagine, and I took this idea from small town Texas grand jury, the way that grand juries are selected here in Texas in smaller counties is that they basically take the tax roll, the tax roll participants, right? So if you're not a convicted felon, you're up to date on your taxes, you're basically a productive member of society. You seem like
a reasonable member of society.
Productive member of society who's lived in that area for a certain amount of time, whether it's 5, 7, 10 years, whatever. And then that group of people contributes a list of 10 or 15 or maybe 20 names of people that they know that they think should represent the county in a grand jury capacity. They tally up those names, and whoever the most popular 20 names are all get notices, and then they pick 10 from there based on what your circumstances and can you serve, do you travel too much, whatever. If you think about electing congressmen at a national level in that same fashion, you immediately take out the money, right? Because now you're being voted in by people who respect you. You also don't get a choice, just like grand jury, is that if
the service is mandatory.
Yeah, if that many people in your area think you're the best guy for the job, tough shit, you're going to do it. To me, it's extreme, and I'm not saying it's flawless. I'm sure there would be plenty of hiccups, but...
Well, bro, but leadership is always a burden.
Yeah, and to me, or
at least it should be.
Yeah, and most of the people that you see running for any office, I don't care if it's city council, most of the people, even wanting to do that, should almost automatically disqualify you from the position.
100%. I saw the same thing in law enforcement. The people that are like, oh, promote me, promote me, promote me. A lot of people want to be promoted. Why? Because it comes with a financial incentive. If you get a promotion, you usually get a little more money, right? And if you want to lead men, and I'm not saying like, obviously, if you have more on your plate, should you be compensated more? I get that too, right? But if that is the foundational reason of why you want to be a leader, it's flawed.
Yeah, it automatically disqualifies
Yeah.
you. You know, and again, like this idea is not perfect. Nothing is. I'm sure there would be hiccups that me or anybody even hearing it maybe wouldn't think of until you experience it. But if you think about how to best represent the country legitimately, to me that seems like a pretty effective way to do it, because now all over the country, everybody in every congressional seat has been voted in by the majority of the people who live there.
Against their will. And
yeah.
I laugh because there's a part of it that sounds kind of preposterous. We'd probably have the best people.
You for sure
ever.
would. You for sure would. And what you also wouldn't have is Jim Bob's construction company donating $5 million to this candidate so that when he gets into office, oh, look at that, Jim Bob's construction company gets the highway project.
Yeah.
You know, that there would be no incentive for that. You know, and it wouldn't matter how much money you have. It's how many people think you're the best guy for the job.
Well, I mean, you look at AIPAC, and they're funding the majority, and I'm not saying completely funding them, but they're putting a lot of money into the majority of politicians on both sides.
The fact is there's a shitload of monetary influence.
That's what I'm saying.
From all types of lobbying entities that corrupts the very system at its core. You know, it absolutely does. And to me, by doing it the way that I'm mentioning, like, again, by all means, you know, Papa, you're a fucking moron in the comments, which I'm sure people are going to do no matter what. But
this is the thing that people need to realize, because there will be people, those two knuckle draggers, they were just Rangers and SEALs. What do they know, right? Why are we talking about this? Because we care about it. And the foundation of why this conversation is even taking place is because we want to see the next generation have the ability to prosper and live the American dream. So if you understand that that's why we're talking about it, you shouldn't be hating on us, even if you think the ideas or the proposals are silly or not rooted in reality. Well, what do you think,
yeah.
right? And I think that's a big problem in America right now, is that it's like...
You've all heard me talk about BEAM before, and there's a reason that I keep coming back to it. This is part of my actual nightly routine. If you somehow haven't tried it yet, that means you used to be just like me. Every night, the same story. Tossing and turning, staring at the ceiling, then dragging yourself through the next day on coffee. That was me. But BEAM sent me their dream powder, and I started sleeping through the night without tossing and turning, waking up energized instead of groggy. And when your job requires you to be sharp and on, bad sleep isn't an option. Dream is made with a powerful blend of all natural ingredients: reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin. None of that drugstore stuff that leaves you foggy the next morning. The chocolate peanut butter flavor they sent me is genuinely delicious. It tastes like hot cocoa before bed. Made right here in America, no shortcuts, and no junk. And I'm not alone. BEAM has improved over 28 million nights of sleep across this country. If you've been waiting for the right time to try Dream, this is it. Go to shopbeam.com/micdrop and use the code MicDrop and get my exclusive offer for up to 40% off BEAM's Dream Powder. So with my discount code MicDrop, all caps, all one word, you can get their best-selling Dream Powder for just $39. Stop pretending like you're still in your 20s and that you can survive a whole day without a good night's sleep. Place your order for BEAM and see the difference.
Conflicting points of view are always met with hate and disdain. And it's like, that is going to do nothing but ensure that we stay stuck right here.
Agreed. And for anybody who's thinking that and wants to type that, I would ask that. I would say two questions. One is, do you think it's going as good as it could or how it should? And if not, what is your idea? Like, if our idea is preposterous, fine. Tell me what yours is, and I'm happy to listen to it. And if I think it's way better, I'm happy to say, you know what, I agree with you. Let's try that.
I hope you have better ideas than me.
Yeah.
That means that you're bringing solutions to the table that I haven't thought of yet.
Yeah, and
like we all win if that's the case.
Yeah, and I'm happy to adopt them. Like, I have no problem saying, yeah, I thought my idea was good. Yours is way better. Let's do that. Like, I would love to find a solution like that.
And bro, that is why I think jiu-jitsu is one of the most foundational personal development tools.
Yeah.
Because what you just said gets worked out in real time, and the outcome is reality, and it feels good.
Yeah.
For men to be able to be like, there's no posturing, there's no what ifs, there's no like, oh, well, if this would have happened. It's like, nope, this is how it transpired, and we both accept that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the most powerful development tools that a person can, a journey that a person can embark on. And most people aren't embarking on any journeys of personal development.
Yeah. And I agree. I mean, you know, the original kind of tenets with which I decided to start training 7 or 8 years ago now, compared to what I actually got out of it, there was a completely unintended consequence.
Has nothing to do with
nothing
fighting.
to do with why I started
Nothing to do
training.
with fighting.
Nothing. Well, and nothing to do with why I even started training.
Uh-huh.
You know, I think it's easy to see the leadership problems in our country. If you look at all of it, what the root cause in pretty much every instance is ego.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time. I mean, like even looking back, and this is, you know, in the grand scope of human history, it's a blip. But looking at some of the failures in World War II between Patton and Clark in the Italian front, and even some of the German commanders, like in every single instance where they made horrendously terrible calls, it was all because of ego. Every single one of them, and it is blatantly obvious that that's the case. You know, especially like the Italian front, which I didn't know much about. But recently I've been watching a bunch of World War II specials just because I find it fascinating, because I think there's so many lessons learned. But looking at like the competition between, you know, the French in North Africa against British and American allies because they didn't like something that the British did in the Suez Canal a few years earlier, and so attacked us in Britain. And then the slow rolling and intentional fucking over of each other that American and British forces enacted on each other in Italy to be the first ones, because, well, I want to be first in this area, so we're going to actually sabotage the Britons or Britons and vice versa. Meanwhile, you know, the Nazis are escaping because we're too busy measuring dicks on who's going to get to this location first. Mm-hmm. And there's so many examples of things like that happening, and that's just one war and one point in history and one part of the planet. But to me, like when the stakes are that high and you still see people's egos making catastrophic failure-based decisions because they're that competitive and can't put their ego in check, to me, like that is the root of so many problems in our society is exactly that. And to your point, like that is unquestionably the biggest thing that I needed that I didn't realize I needed until I had it happen. But was that being able to suppress your ego and only allow it to surface when it actually makes sense and is beneficial, which is not often.
Well, I love that you said that, though, because like in jiu-jitsu, very often you hear check your ego at the door. And it's like, I tell my athletes, because I mean, we have like 300 students at my academy now. It's blown up, and it's really turned into something special. Check your ego at the door to me means like show up with no ego. Well, I still want you to hone the desire to win. That's an important part of jiu-jitsu too. You don't go to tournaments and just be, I hope I get armbarred today, right? Like honing the desire to win is an important thing for all young people. But it's how you show up when you win, and it's how you show up when you lose. And I think that's where people struggle with ego. It's like you see, especially like younger guys, they're so focused on winning that if they don't, it hurts a part of them. Mm-hmm. And it's like that's where you're starting to lose touch with your ego. I think you have to win exactly how you lose, and the mats teach you all that.
Yeah. Yeah, and to me, you know, going back to the World War II references, that because I agree, like there is a time and a place where it's actually necessary to allow your ego to take over. Mm-hmm. But it always has to be seen through the lens of what the overall objective is, and in this case, the objective is to, you know, squash the Nazi movements in northern Italy and even southern Italy when they first landed on it. But what they found is that, you know, that ego to win didn't stop at just the Nazis. It was, well, I also want to be better than the British. and the British want to be better than us, and it ends up helping their enemies. So like,
Well,
to
bro,
me,
I mean, we've even seen that in our communities between Rangers and SEALs.
yeah, for sure.
Like,
Yeah.
everybody wants the glory, right?
Yeah.
And I get that. I mean, you can look at that and you can understand that. But if you can detach from that emotionally and just be like, okay, what's the objective?
Yeah, to me that has to be the backdrop always.
Yes.
Is what's the overall objective, and when does it make sense to let your ego take over and be competitive and have the will to win and whatever, and the instant where it detracts or deflects from what the objective is, then you've got to realign it and
I think walking that line is something that you have to
practice to learn.
practice for life.
Yeah.
Like, we're never going to arrive at I always joke, like, I look back on who I was 5 to 10 years previously and just think, man, like, that kid thought he had it all figured out.
Yeah.
And as I sit here today, 45 years old, I'll listen to this interview when I'm 60 and just be like, oh man, yeah,
You
guys,
idiot.
yeah. But at the same time, that's also healthy.
Yeah.
I think we should always be trying to grow and become a better version. And once you have this planet and this life figured out, that probably means that you died.
Yeah, it's time to go.
Like, it's just, that's just how the journey works.
Yeah. I wanted to go back to the Iran stuff for just a minute, because there was a couple other questions I wanted to get your take on, which is, obviously it's a world of hypotheticals when it comes to stuff like this, especially when it's preemptive. And I've heard the argument, to kind of play devil's advocate, of, well, when would the red line be crossed for you specifically? Like, is there a scenario where what we're doing is justified, and you would say, yeah, I would send my kids to fight this war? Like, what would it take?
I think the word imminent has been getting thrown around a lot lately. I don't teach my kids, wait till you get hit, right? I think that's a fallacy too. Like, if you know a fight is going down, then take an advantageous posture and win before it happens. And sometimes winning before it happens is walking away too, right? Yeah. But if we had intel that was irrefutable and it wasn't propaganda and they're just 2 weeks away, like no shit, somehow we know beyond a shadow of a doubt they not only have the capabilities, but there's a plan to implement that. I don't think anybody would say, like, well, don't do anything, just wait until they nuke an American city, right? I don't think anyone would do that. At this point, I just have to go off of my intuition, and I don't think, because that's the story they are selling. It's an imminent threat for a nuke, and once they get that, they're going to kill a bunch of innocent people. And if that's the truth that you land on and that you feel is truth, I can understand why people say, okay, let's attack them. Yeah. Like, I get that. That just doesn't feel like truth to me. Like, when is the last time? I mean, do you ever listen to the Iranian foreign minister talk?
Not really. I mean, I've seen
he's a pretty fascinating guy.
Yeah, I've seen blurbs here and there.
And if you look at his body language, you look at his posture, you listen to what he's saying, and he speaks English well. The bullshit sensors going off on the things that we're being told about who they are.
Yeah.
That doesn't, again, it's just like you said, that doesn't mean like, oh, I think the Iranian regime is great, but what is in it for them to come over here and attack the United States? Like, why is that a reality that they're looking to implement? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
And I could be wrong, but
yeah. I don't think so either.
I don't think so.
But to me, there's a tough thing to reconcile with, actionable intelligence and disclosing that to the public to make the justification that what we're doing is sound. And I'm not naive to the fact that, by disclosing some methods or sources, not even sources, some pieces of intelligence by reverse design, it in fact burns the source that you got it from. If the other side knows you know something and they know there's only one place it could come from. So I'm not naive to the fact that you've got to be smart about that for the long game, and you can't burn your sources, and you need to be very strategic in what you release to the public. Having said that, when you're asking us to buy in at this level where we're putting our American troops' lives on the line, I think there has to be some level or metric that says, here is the proof and here is why it's justified and why we feel it's necessary. Because hey, just trust us, bro. You put us in this position.
Yeah.
Like that only works for so many things and for so long.
Well, and that's why we're here. It's the boy who cried wolf scenario.
Right.
Weapons of mass destruction. They're going to blow us up in 2 weeks. It's always 2 weeks or 30 days. That same window that they've been talking about,
or months away from
for 3 decades now.
Yeah.
And at some point, if that is truth, you've lost the trust of the people because you've just been spewing it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And people don't believe you anymore.
I am curious from a nuke capability standpoint. I mean, I think it's easy to assume that, if Iran attacked any American interest, even if it's a base in Bahrain, with any type of nuclear capacity, that's game over and all bets are off. The gloves come off. It's, total annihilation. What I'm curious, though, is there anything shy of that? Like let's say as a hypothetical, if Iran attacked somebody else, not even necessarily Israel. I mean, they would attack Saudi Arabia, I think, if they could. Is there an
Well, why haven't they then?
No, because I don't think they have the capability for it. Because to me, agreed, it's like even the 4,000 kilometer ICBM that was headed towards Diego Garcia, it was like they weren't supposed to have those. Now we know that they do. Well, I want you to think about that for a second. Like, yes, that means that they lied, which shouldn't come as a surprise. However, that also means that they had the capability and they didn't use it.
Yeah.
So what does that also tell you? So you have to look at it from both sides. But from your perspective, is there an attack that if Iran conducted on anybody that would make you say, yeah, I think it warrants the U.S. involvement in it?
Yeah, I would say for sure. I mean, again, you can't just sit back and be bullied. I think everybody agrees that is not like the posture that we should hold as America. But I don't think that we were being bullied. I think the majority of it was hypothetical, and a lot of people will reference them fighting a proxy war and that they supplied a lot of the EFPs and IEDs. Well, we were also in their backyard too, and so it's like, I don't know. I think if they were to just start to blatantly attack neighboring countries or U.S. interests, that okay, we're going to have to get involved. But the truth is, we went and we were the ones that were on the offense, and we went and attacked them. Like, what was it, June, where we did a bombing campaign and obliterated, to use their words, their nuclear capabilities.
Set them back years.
And then a couple months later, they're 30 days out again. Like, I just think that the people that are in charge are disingenuous. And it's so bad now that I'm starting to wonder how long have we been on the wrong side of history?
Yeah, because to your point, like, yes, that there's irrefutable evidence that the Iran regime, specifically the IRGC and the Quds Force guys, were responsible for American deaths in Iraq, hundreds, if not thousands of them. But to your point, we were also there, and we shouldn't have been in Iraq to begin with.
Well, but it goes back to like what you said earlier. If China was setting up bases in Tijuana, are we going to get ahead of that maybe if we can?
For sure we
will.
For
sure. So like, you take the side of the team that you're on off the table and just try and look at it strategically. We'd have probably been doing the same thing.
Yeah, and we do the same thing, taking a look at Ukraine and Russia. I mean, we do the exact same thing, provide Ukraine with intelligence, with weapons, technology, funding. I mean, we have people going over there, American citizens fighting, training, medical aid, I mean, you name it. If Russia does that and helps Iran, now all of a sudden, like, they're the terrorist regime, and that's unacceptable. And it's like, we're doing the exact same fucking thing to them.
Well, Putin's another one. Do you watch Putin's 3-hour interview with Tucker Carlson? Mm-hmm. It's pretty fascinating. Like, the first thing that he says is, Tucker, do you want a short interview or do you want a long interview? Because if you want a long interview, I need some time to really give you the history of Russia. And Tucker goes, give me the long interview. And he goes, okay, well, starting in 1630 or something. And he literally gave centuries of history that led up to where the conflict is today. Now, regardless on what side you land on or who you think is right or who you think is wrong, It's very clear to me that he is super intelligent. He puts a lot of thought into this. He studies, and he has a comprehensive understanding of what is taking place. Our politicians can't even answer one fucking question.
Yeah.
And it just made me think, like, man, like, again, are we on the wrong side of history? How come this guy can sit down with one of our journalists for 3 hours and say, ask me anything? And anytime someone asks our president something, he usually takes a jab at them, something about their character, or even like making fun of them, of who they are or what network they work for. And then they just go on these weird tangents.
And to be fair, like Biden did the same thing. I remember,
100,
you
yeah.
stupid son of a bitch. I can't even believe it.
His were worse.
Yeah, I mean, his were incoherent.
Yeah, his were worse. But even Hegseth, man, like, I was hopeful for him. The way in which he's talking to people during interviews, he's like snapping at them. There's like this aura of arrogance around him. And it's just kind of like, you know what? I'm not on your guys' team anymore.
Yeah. So what do you think is the fix from a long-term foreign policy standpoint with everything that we have going on right now? You wake up tomorrow and you're
I'm in
the
charge.
president.
I would cut off all funding, all foreign aid to everyone. I would tell Israel, you're on your own. Like, and again, well, he's an anti-Semite. No. I'm just saying I'm going to put America first. And if Israel wants to stir up the hornet's nest like they've been doing for a long time, and they have some negative consequences as a result of that, that's up to you guys to figure out. We're not funding these wars. We're not poking our noses in it anymore. And literally, I mean, I think you could literally, this may be an oversimplification, but literally like that guy's hand I shook in the parking lot last week. If I was president, I would go meet the leaders of these different countries and be like, hey, these are the things we did previously that I think we're overstepping. These are my expectations moving forward. And if you can agree, I will agree that we don't have to have conflict between our countries anymore. If conflict arises, then we'll be right back to where we were, and I will show up and I will fucking win. I will. I'm not going to let our citizens be targeted, acts of terrorism. None of that stuff will be accepted. But if you guys can live your life and we live our life and we can go our separate ways, but Trump doesn't have the humility to like have anything that even appears to be a loss. Like, they're already on TV saying this is the best military victory in history, and it's like, what are you even talking about? I think I would rein everything in and I would put America first. And I think that that's what a lot of people like us are looking for.
Yeah.
America first is not having our military all over the world, engaged in conflicts everywhere. And I just feel like we're going to get drugged deeper. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we figure out an exit strategy in the near future. I mean, we talked about it earlier. Stuff is moving so quickly now that who knows where we're going to be in 7 to 10 days, right? But I think that's the answer. Like, oh, well, you don't know what the regime does to its people. Again, I can't control what every regime does to all of its people all over the planet.
Yeah, if that was the case, we'd be in half of the countries.
That's what I'm saying. We'd be in half of the
Africa.
countries. That is not, and I think you've said it several times. Two things can be true at once, right? Like, we are compassionate men. I care about people. I don't want to see people starving. I don't want to see people getting slaughtered by evil regimes. And if we have the capacity to help people out, I don't think anyone would say don't help people out. We don't want to help Africans. We don't want to help people in the Middle East. I don't think anyone would say that. But we have a lot of fixing to do at home first. And until we do that, I don't think we need to have our fingers in everything.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I am curious, continuing this hypothetical scenario, that let's say we accomplish that. Is there an example of a foreign policy thing that could happen that would make you say it is time for us to now get involved, shy of being attacked? You know, I think that the obvious thing is if anybody came and attacked us here at home, that's a no-brainer. Yeah. But shy of that, is there anything that could take place overseas that would make you say it is time for us to get involved?
I mean, it's hard to answer that without knowing what the hypothetical could be. But no, I don't think that there's much that could pull me into it if it's based on oil or economic reasons or posturing or all those things. Like, it's just because my entire adult life we've been doing that. and I don't feel like we're in a better place because of it.
Going back to, the most recent and example I could give that I would say, yeah, I can see how and why we got involved. Maybe not when we did or exactly how we did, but, World War II seemed, or at least seems, who knows what you're being fed and how accurate it is.
Bro, there's a lot of stuff coming out about that too that makes you
but
raise your eyebrows.
Yeah, but I do think, like I've watched quite a bit of footage and I understand that, some things can be manipulated or everything can be manipulated, but I do think, even looking at like the Nuremberg trials and the information that came out and, the documents that were within the Nazi party, which back then I know things could still be manipulated, but certainly nowhere near to the extent that they can now. I do think, our cause to fight the Nazi regime and the Japanese Empire, given what they did to us at Pearl Harbor and what they tried to accomplish, I think both of those made sense for us to get involved to the scale and capacity that we did, and to do it over again. Yeah, there's some tactical decisions I would have made different, which that's easy to say, hindsight being 2020. But from a kind of a big picture, almost theoretical or philosophical standpoint, would something like that be an instance where you would say, yeah, I think it does make sense for the United States?
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
Yeah.
And again, like everything that we know about World War II, I'm questioning everything now.
Yeah.
Because it's like we thought we had a pretty good understanding of history and who the key players were and why the different countries were involved. And the older I get, the more I realize like so much of what we're being fed is tied to a narrative and tied to manipulation. Now it makes you go back and think, because I used to get angry at people when they said 9/11 was an inside job, because that was like, that's the foundation of why I'm fighting. And now I have to ask myself, well, why did that make you mad? Could there be truth to that? And again, I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, the towers can't melt or whatever the case is, right? Because I don't know. I don't understand that well enough to just sit here and have a hard decision or a hard point that I've landed on as truth. But I don't trust the government anymore. I think that they will lie and manipulate to achieve what they want to achieve. How long has that been going on? Probably since the inception of government. Yeah. And so it makes me wonder, like, what were all the moving parts of World War II? You hear about the Weimar Republic and some of the things that in like pre-1930s Germany was like starting to poison the culture and whatnot. And it just makes you realize there's more to the story than we read in our history books. For sure there is. And I think the tough part is there's so many layers to it that I think most people don't even realize, which, taking World War II as the example, the circumstances with which World War I ended, setting the stage for Germany to be so humiliated and stifled economically to a degree with which it almost forced them as a people to band together and rise up and basically say, fuck everybody who put us in this position, which is, what set the stage for a guy like Hitler to even take power. But there's even further stuff from that in that, like some of the experiences that some of the leadership of every country of World War II, they're all humans. They have biases. They have even childhood traumas that shape some of their outlooks on things. Something as simple as, say, Goering, I think that's his last name. He's basically Hitler's right-hand man. He was a Luftwaffe commander. Like his childhood growing up where, a Jewish businessman and just super wealthy guy basically took his family in, and it was his uncle, like adopted uncle. But he was so wealthy to where he had this huge castle that he moves their family into and takes his mom as his mistress right in front of his dad. So, he's witnessing this as a child. So some of these hatreds are so specific to that individual's childhood and their specific circumstance that completely skews their view of the entire world, especially back then when there's not access to
the information the way that we have it now. And I think that that's important. I mean, when you have people in positions of that level of power that have volatile childhood traumas that are shaping the lens with which they're seeing the entire world through, like, that matters. I mean, that makes a huge difference. But isn't it
probably true for almost every leader?
And that's what I mean.
You know what I mean? Like,
even right now, like whether it's Putin, whether it's Trump, whether it's an Ayatollah, I mean, and or even the example you used of Osama bin Laden, it's like, there's things that happen to people in their life that shape the rest of their lives to a very significant degree in some cases. And when those people get into positions, they're not seeing things the same way everybody else does.
Well, think about being that little boy. It's like this Jewish family came in to save us and then destroyed my family from the inside. Fuck these people.
Yeah, so he obviously has a very specific bias. Not to say that any of it's justified, but
I'm just saying that's reality.
Yeah, but
everybody wants stuff to be justified, but men operate in reality.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you had these experiences and this is what you feel about these people, you're probably going to act a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's midweek, you're tired, you're hungry, and somehow you end up making the same 3 meals you always make. It's comfortable, sure, but there's part of you that's been wanting something different. Something that actually feels like a real meal without the hassle of figuring it out after a long day. That's where HelloFresh has been a game changer for me. They sent me meals to try, and the thing that got me was the variety. We're talking Vietnamese, Moroccan, Caribbean, over 80 global recipes every month. Ingredients like lemongrass, gochujang, curry paste, all pre-portioned and delivered straight to your door. There's no recipe hunting, no grocery run, no stress, you just cook. And look, I use this, and you should too. When dinner is this straightforward and actually tastes this good, there's no reason to default to takeout because nothing hits home like home cooking. Go to HelloFresh.com/MicDrop10FM now to get 10 free meals plus a free NutriBullet Ultra Plus 2-in-1 compact kitchen system. It's a $189.99 value on your third box. Free meals applied as a discount on the first box, new subscribers only, varies by plan, and you must order the third box by May 31st, 2026. Is there anything else about kind of the current state of affairs politically, nationally, internationally, that we haven't touched on?
I don't know. I think we touched on most
beat that dead horse
to
death over and over.
I mean, they called for a ceasefire. What is it, 24 hours ago? Maybe 48 now? 48. And then Israel says, well, we still get to bomb Lebanon because that wasn't part of it. And if you look at the 10-point thing that they asked as the ceasefire, it was part of it. And it's just, it feels like children are at the helm.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just, it seems like there's a lack of logic and critical thinking. And I saw J.D. Vance was like, no, Lebanon wasn't part of the deal. I don't know what they're talking about. He said the Iranians misunderstood the ceasefire deal. What the fuck are we talking about? Is it just a text message that they read wrong? Like, what are we talking about? Yeah. And it just feels like to me like the wheels are falling off. I think Trump is terrified of losing the perception of having control over the conflict. However, I think that's starting to happen in real time.
Yeah.
One of the Iranian foreign minister said the other day, he said, Trump has threatened our bridges and our power grid, but we can rebuild those. One thing that we will never have the opportunity to do again is embarrass the American regime. And I was like, dude, they're starting to, like, the things that the Taliban would say is like, these people are here for the long haul.
Yeah.
You can't scare them with bullets and bombs because they've been confronted by bullets and bombs their entire life. And you and I have both learned this personally. You don't beat an ideology with firepower. You simply can't.
Well, that and, they're also not naive to the fact that 2.5 years from now, somebody could be in his position that has the exact opposite opinion as him. And so they don't have to wait 10 years or hold out for any more than 2.5 or maybe even 6 months when the midterms.
When the American appetite for war no longer exists.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is these people's homes.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the Taliban, the kids that we were fighting at the conclusion of the Afghan war, they weren't even born when 9/11 happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's their home. This is their culture. That's what they do. And they're there for the long haul. We get to pack up and go home, and we go back to some semblance of like a normal life back home. That's their real life.
Yeah, I am curious though, and this is one of those figures that's hard to know what's accurate. But what percentage of the Iranian population actually supports the IRGC and who's in power?
Well, I think about that stuff all the time because, again, you're reading comments. There's tons of comments that are like, "Thank you, America, for liberating us. I'm Iranian, and I want to say thank you." Are they all bots? Are they real people that feel like they were liberated? It's like, there's no way of knowing what the truth is.
Yeah. I mean, I will say and this is anecdotal at best because there's a few of them, but there are a few people that I've seen being interviewed that are from Iran, that their families fled in the late 70s, early 80s, whatever, who have that absolute and exact sentiment.
We did see a lot of celebration and parades here in America with Iranian.
But that's my question though, is like there's no doubt that there's a percentage, there's a portion, a significant portion even of the population who does not want the regime that has been in charge for 47 years to still be in charge. How big is that, and what are they willing to do about it? And to be fair, if Russia knocked off Trump, half the country would fucking be celebrating. I mean, that's the reality of it. Like, as shitty as that feels, and as much as I hate to say that, maybe not half, enough people, though, to where it wouldn't just be some one-off crazy loon who's glad.
Oh, no, it would probably be.
I mean, there would be plenty of people in the country that would welcome that.
Well, and this is something that I think about because we saw it firsthand in Iraq. When you just hand somebody freedom, it's like, hey, you were under a terror regime, and now we've given you freedom. Like when I was in Ramadi, we were working with State Department, and they had U.S. diplomats shadowing the mayors, the governors, and we tried to put all these people in positions of power that somewhat mirrored a Western democracy, and it didn't work at all.
Yeah.
A lot of the people, you know what freedom meant to them? I can kill my neighbor now. I've always hated that guy.
Yeah, with no repercussions.
And we saw that kind of shit all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, there's a part of me that does understand if there's a group of people being subjugated and they live under this tyrannical regime, we should probably help those people. There's a part of me that feels called to want to do that. But if they're not willing to do it themselves, how much stake do they really have in the game?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's our responsibility to say, hey, we're going to help you conduct a revolution because we don't like your leader. If those people are sick and tired of living under tyranny, then maybe they need to figure out a way to change the trajectory of their country. And that may sound insensitive, but again, it goes back to, it's not up to us to fix everything.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, like, I don't know that we can in most cases.
I don't think we can.
No matter
either.
how hard we try, I don't know that we can.
Well, look at Iraq. Iraq, I would say it was March 19th, 2003 that we invaded. And remember, for that first year, I would say everything was kind of like, whew. I mean, George Bush was on the aircraft carrier, a month later, right? Mission accomplished. And then in 04, 05, 06, the insurgency came alive, and we realized, like, oh, we don't have the influence like we thought we did over here, and a lot of these people want us the fuck out of their country.
Yeah.
And that got worse and worse and worse and worse until we finally were just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
We're out of here.
Yeah.
And I think to think that it would play out any differently
is foolish.
Yeah.
Last kind of international foreign policy question. And
I've never got all these foreign policy questions. I almost feel important right now.
You are important. You're important to me. You're important to everybody. Who are you kidding? UN, broadly speaking, do you think it's an obsolete organization at this point? Do you have enough?
I mean, the truth is, if I were to speak on exactly what the UN, being a part of the UN entails, and the benefits, and also like the downside of it, I'd be kind of speaking out of terms. But just my overall sentiment, yeah, I don't think we need to be part of these big world organizations that want to tell everybody what to do, you know?
Yeah, to me, it seems kind of like a lot of things in that, its original intention, both in practice and in theory, post World War II, made
world
sense.
Alliance, exactly.
Yeah, it made sense then because of what had just happened.
Well, you hear what Trump was saying about Spain, I think yesterday?
Mm-mm.
He's like, we're cutting off all trade. Spain's done. We're not working with you guys anymore. Like, any relationships that we do have are probably going to end anyways. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, to me, my biggest concern or issue with that as an alliance and a global entity at this point is that, in 1950, the reasons for its existence were so fresh to where like that was the backdrop with which everything was handled.
Well, and here's the thing, like there's supposed to be a UN resolution if anybody that's part of the UN is going to wage war. And a lot of our partners are very upset that we've just been waging these wars without any type of UN resolution. Now, do I think we need a UN resolution for conflict? Like, there's a part of me that's like, no, we'll do whatever we feel like we need to do, right? But if we're going to be part of these organizations and pretend like we're key players, what are we really doing here?
Yeah.
Are we going to be part of it or are we not going to be part of it? And you just see they're moving the goalposts all the time. Like, what is war? What is war? Is bombing a country for a month an act of war? I think everybody would agree it is, but they can't use that verbiage because there hasn't been a congressional declaration of war. I mean, did you see, was it Thomas Massey or Rand Paul that was talking about, I think it was Rand Paul that said, hey, if a foreign country flew helicopters into D.C. and snatched our president under military force, would that be an act of war? Well, and no one can answer it. And he goes, of course it would be an act of war. If someone flew into our country and took Donald Trump out, like you said, half the country would be celebrating, right?
Yeah.
But if that were to take place, I think we can all agree that's an act of war. And then we just went and did it. And you know what the response was? No, this was a law enforcement operation because he was indicted. And it's like, okay, here we are again. You just change the verbiage and the narrative to meet whatever your objective is, but we're not standing in truth.
Yeah, because, in that way, you could say the same thing. Well, Netanyahu and at this point Trump have been accused of international war crimes.
Yeah.
You could indict both of them the same way and have some other foreign entity do the same thing and use that same justification. Now, with Venezuela, to me, I agree with you in that, like, just be honest about it.
Just be honest about it.
Like, if they had said he was a shitbag, there's a lot of long game decisions that involve China and oil, the Western Hemisphere.
Just tell us the truth.
And we
I have
made
some
a
friends
judgment.
that are Venezuelan that literally escaped. And his name's Luis and Isabella, and they did my podcast, and they talked literally watching their friends get gunned down in the streets. It was gnarly down there.
Yeah.
They are so grateful that Maduro was overthrown. So again,
two things being true.
Two things can be true at once, right?
Yeah, but just be honest.
Be honest.
Yeah.
Call it what it is.
Yeah. All right. So enough about the good stuff.
Well, I just saw during break that Xi Jinping just said he demands Israel withdrawals from Lebanon because he won't let that become another Gaza.
Really?
So the saga continues.
Dude, World War III.
Yeah, who knows what that means?
No shit.
I did want to ask you a question before we get into our next topic. Is any element of Warrior Dog a nonprofit?
The whole thing.
The whole thing's a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Okay. One of my friends, his name's Chad DePau, shout out. Great human being, and he is your biggest fan.
Oh, really?
Him and his daughter are doing some type of T-shirt campaign. I'm not sure the details on it, with the goal being to donate the proceeds to a nonprofit of choice, and he would like to choose Warrior Dog.
Yeah, that's amazing, man.
Okay.
That's incredible. That would be fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah,
I will connect you guys in after the show.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That's super kind and very humbling. That's really cool. I appreciate it very much.
I love connecting good people. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, amen. All right, so it's been 3 years since you've been on the show. I know you've done a 5-day dry fast. You've written the book. You've got a huge rowing expedition coming up. We'll get into those, but other than that, what have you been up to the last 3 years?
The primary focus for me for the last 3 years is really just building my Jiu-Jitsu Academy. What I've found is, like on a macrocosm, like what we talked about is fixing your home and making sure we're good first. What I found is through the Jiu-Jitsu Academy, we're really doing that with a lot of members of our society. And I've seen a lot of growth in tons of people. And it's become more of a mission towards excellence as opposed to just building grapplers.
Yeah.
There's people have different theories on this, but for the longest time, I wanted my mat room to be like a fight club. I want the toughest guys around. I want the guys that can push me the hardest. I want guys that are chasing competition. And when I was younger, I liked that vibe. I enjoyed that. But what I found, there's two reasons why I don't think that that's the best model of jiu-jitsu. A, from a business standpoint, if you're secluding the majority of your population to just have a room full of savages, it's not a good business model. But more importantly than it not being a good business model, jiu-jitsu is a tool of growth and empowerment. Who needs that the most? The 24-year-old collegiate wrestler that's been on the grind for
already a badass.
He's already been doing that his whole life. And so what we did is we opened up a kids program, and we were very intentional about it. And full disclosure, one of my coaches came to me and was like, hey, bro, this is what I think we should start to move into. And once the kids program blew up, what inevitably followed was families joining. You can only sit on the bench for so long as a mother or father and watch what happens on the mats and not be intrigued by it. Plus, I always tell the dads, I'm like, hey, little Johnny's 10 right now, but when he's 16,
he's going to fuck you
he's
up.
The man of the house, whether you want him to be or not, right?
Yeah.
And what we've seen is it's become a family endeavor for a lot of people. And we have a women's only night now. Thursday night on our upstairs mat room is our women's only night.
I'll probably show up to that.
Yeah, you're well. Hey, well, identify as a woman that night. You're good to go. But we've just watched the culture shift from like Fight Club to empowering people. And it's been one of I tell people all the time, especially on my show, I talk about a lot. The last 3 years of my life have been the highlight of anything that I've done through the Rangers, through law enforcement, through combat. All of that stuff was part of my story. I'm proud of it. I'm glad that I did it. But what I'm doing right now is affecting real change in people. I could introduce you to probably 10 different guys that are down 75 pounds.
Wow.
But more importantly than the number on the scale, they're finding themselves.
Yeah.
And one thing that I talk about very often through jiu-jitsu is I don't care if you have a six-pack. I don't care if you can choke this guy out. What I want my athletes to land on is when you look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the night, are you proud of who you see? Because, bro, I think if we can get, and obviously women and children are part of this too, but I think it's very important for the men in our society. Before you go to bed at night, when you look at yourself in the mirror and you're not bullshitting yourself and you're not putting a mask on and it's just you and you, do you say, I'm proud of you. You're doing good. And again, jiu-jitsu gives that to a lot of people. It gives it to them because it offers improvements in physical health, which that's the most obvious one. Through physical health, your mental health starts to improve as well. But I think the most important thing is you have a tribe of people that you trust and that they care about each other mutually. Yeah. And like we see it plague our communities all the time because you're a Ranger, you're a SEAL, then you leave the unit and now you're doing what? Well, I'm working night shift at this warehouse, and the spiral starts to happen because they don't feel like they have that brotherhood that they were a part of. I think that tribal connection is something that is inherently missing in a lot of men's lives. And I think that's one of the foundational reasons that a lot of people are struggling with mental health issues that then lead to physical sickness, disease, all that stuff. And in the course of the last 3 years, I've watched our Jiu-Jitsu Academy become something that's like, it's bigger than me now. And I'm not one of those guys, I'll take credit for it. Like, I'm proud of what I built. I put a lot of energy into it. I put a lot of leadership into it. But now it's to a point where it's bigger than any one person. It's a group of people that this is their place. This is where we come together as people. This is where we share time on the mats, that's the actual jiu-jitsu training. But the last round, the bell goes off at 7:30. Training's done. I am never locking the door before 8:30.
Yeah.
and we have a big sauna. It's a 6-person sauna, but there's probably 12 people in it. And we always say like sauna confessionals, right? Yeah. That's where we don't talk about life on the mats because we're training. But then after practice, you look around the academy, there's probably 4 or 5 groups of people ranging from 3 to 6 people. And they're catching up on life and they're connecting. And it's literally been a magical experience.
Are you a man of faith, religiously speaking?
Yes. I just don't prescribe to any one thing. But yes, absolutely. I do believe the soul is eternal. We're here on earth, and this is our time to experience what it's like to be in a meat-covered skeleton, as I call it, and then the soul will transcend that.
Yeah. Because to me, what you're describing, I agree. I see that in good jiu-jitsu gyms all over the country and world. But from my perspective, what you're describing is also, what a church environment should bring to communities that, unfortunately, it seems like most don't, which, that is a whole other episode, frankly, with the amount of discussion that could be had. But
this will be a 3-part episode.
Yeah. But so many of the things that you're saying that, the community caring about each other, connecting, even the confessional part of, whether it's to a man of the cloth or a neighbor or whatever, but having that sense of community and connection is so crucial. I am curious, as somebody who's practiced and been a part of so many combatives programs in a host of different capacities, what do you think it is about jiu-jitsu in particular compared to all of the other martial arts and combatives programs that seems to be so much that way that the rest of them aren't? Because you don't have that with karate or taekwondo.
I think about it all the time.
Yeah.
Again, this will be another 3-hour episode, just this portion, because my team will sit around a bonfire on Friday night for 5 hours and talk about jiu-jitsu sometimes. And it's like, and one of my students said one day, I'll never forget this, said, "Do you think there's a fire pit anywhere in America with a group of men talking about taekwondo?"
No.
And I said, "No, I don't think there is.
Krav Maga or
this isn't,
whatever.
And this isn't to cast any shade at those arts. I honestly think the reason jiu-jitsu connects people, I literally think it's the physical connection. I think we carry an energetic aura around our body. I mean, and supposedly this stuff is even measurable. I can't cite any of the data or whatnot. But I think when you hug a human being, there's studies that when you hug a human being, it increases dopamine. There's something about physical touch that is lost. And even though the physical touch is rooted in combat, it still connects you to the person. Have you done much competing?
Mm-mm.
So you'll find when you compete against guys, after the competition, there's something about there's something that transpires where you like each other. And I mean, not 100% of the time, but there's plenty of times like leading into the match where it's like you're carrying a different energy, and then when the match comes to a conclusion, you start talking to that guy. "Oh, where are you from? Like, what gym do you train out of? How long have you been training?" And there's an element of camaraderie that comes out of it. I think when you are, there's lots of different reasons that it connects people. I think the physical connection is one of the foundations. Because I've boxed, I've kickboxed, I've done Muay Thai, I've done all these different arts. And just like you said, something about jiu-jitsu brings people together more than any of those. Yeah. Now, there's also other reasons. Getting a shin kick to the side of the head on a Wednesday night and then having to go to work in the morning doesn't make sense for most people. Mm-hmm. And I get that. Jiu-jitsu is an art that is real. It works. I was a police officer for a long time. When you use jiu-jitsu against people that don't know jiu-jitsu, it is a superpower. But it's also relatively safe in comparison to a lot of arts. Now, we were just talking before we recorded about our old knees, right? Like the longevity of your body does suffer with jiu-jitsu. That's a reality of it. But it's like anything. There's a give and take to it.
And not to the same extent as most of the combat or contact sports.
Yeah. Well, and also it's like, I guess the big concern is CTE. Like, I don't want my young kids getting punched and kicked in the head. I know most guys that work shifts at Boeing. We have a lot of students that are employees of Boeing because it's right up the street from us. Their goal for what they want out of joining a martial art, sure, self-defense, confidence, fitness, all that is true, but they're not looking to be fighters. And jiu-jitsu provides an environment where they can become very proficient at something that works. They can chase their physical fitness goals. They can have something to be proud of, and it all happens on the mats.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talk about it with my team all the time because the other side of jiu-jitsu is it's not a very small portion of it is not about winning a physical altercation. Like, sure, if you get into one, you will find your jiu-jitsu works, but it's so much bigger than that. And another element that I think is not touched on very often, it's an element of play with your friends. Mm-hmm. Like, you show up, and sure, it can be hard, but playing tag in the woods when you were 7 was hard too. You just didn't know it was hard because you're having a good time. And you see these men that most men, I think in the military we got a lot of play too, like doing shoot house drills and all that stuff and jumping out of planes and helicopters. That touched that child spirit that's like, oh, I'm jumping out of helicopters. This is cool, right? I think a lot of men after high school sports, where is their outlet for play? And our society has just kind of decided, hey, once you're this old, you go to the workforce and play is not a part of life anymore. Because, I mean, you look around the mats, how many people are smiling? How many people are laughing? Now there's the whole gambit of emotions.
Yeah.
Some people
are crying.
Yeah, some people are crying and some people are in pain. But therein lies the beauty of it. It almost encompasses the yin and yang of life.
Yeah, it's like a microcosm.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
I have a theory also that I'm curious, as somebody who is so experienced in it by comparison to myself, in that what separates jiu-jitsu from everything else. Do you play any instruments?
Yes.
Which ones?
Well, I played guitar for a long time.
Well, perfect.
I've been neglecting the guitar for the past probably decade, but I was good at once upon a time.
So I'm going to use an analogy that I hope resonates with you, being a guitarist. To me, if you compare martial arts and music, as a one-to-one comparison, to me, the one thing that jiu-jitsu has that I don't think anything else does, judo to a certain extent, catch wrestling, I mean, those are very similar. It has a level of variation that's basically endless that doesn't exist anywhere else.
Yeah.
And by that, I would compare jiu-jitsu to a guitar in that way, compared to drums, compared to, even a bass guitar, is that, if you take a regular 6-string, whether it's acoustic but especially electric, the way you can bend the strings and pinch harmonics and sweep picking and all of these different things that make a note very different from just the note. Drums is to me very akin to boxing or Muay Thai or kickboxing in that there's not really that many variations to a jab, a cross, a hook, a whatever.
That's interesting. I like this because it's very rhythmic too, right?
Yeah. Whereas with a guitar, it's like you can bend strings and use, especially with electric, you can distortion pedals, the way that you pick, like there's so many variations to one note by what you do and how you do it. And to me, I see such a parallel with jiu-jitsu that way.
What a cool analogy. Because if you look at the guitar and say, hey, how many songs are capable of being played on this guitar? The answer is it's infinite. There is so many different combinations of all the things you just spoke about. The music that can be created out of this thing is infinite.
Yeah.
And that is jiu-jitsu. I tell my students all the time, and this isn't being self-deprecating, I am a very good black belt. I know that I am. And my jiu-jitsu feels like a 5-gallon bucket of knowledge that I dipped out of the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
Like, that's how vast it is.
Yeah.
And one of the coolest things about being a coach, and I've actually put a lot of thought into this lately, is my job as a coach is not to write music for you, is to teach you to play the instrument, and then you write your own songs.
Yeah.
See, I just took your analogy and tied it all together.
Oh, I love it.
Because that's the truth of jiu-jitsu is my jiu-jitsu is, some would call it very basic. I like double leg takedowns. I like collar drags. I like mount, and I like arm bars.
And wrist locks.
You're not going to catch me wrist locking anybody. Now, I have a comprehensive understanding of a lot more jiu-jitsu outside of that. But if you want to just hone it down to, if I'm going into a competition, you can say, Greg, put together the sequence of how you want the match to go. Double leg takedown, mount, armbar. That's what I would want every single time. I think that's the essence of jiu-jitsu. I think that is, I think it works in both the game of jiu-jitsu as well as the self-defense application of jiu-jitsu. But that's just what I've landed on of liking. This guy is going to pull De La Hiva to a Berimbolo, roll to the back, and hit a choke from the back. And to me, it's just as effective. It's just as cool. It's just as real. But he got to find what he likes. And it's based on so many different things, your physicality, your mobility, and then also just what interests you. And this is something I say about jiu-jitsu very often. When people are like, I'll have people say like, well, will that work in a fight? I'm probably not going to pull De La Hiva in a fight. Okay, I'm not going to do that. That doesn't seem to make sense from a self-defense application. Now, is there times when if I end up underneath someone that I better have some options? 100%. And I always tell people like my wrestling coach, his name's Jordan, if him and I have some beef and it has to get settled in the Walmart parking lot, there's a 0% chance I can take him down.
There was a point where I was doing everything right. Training hard, eating clean, staying disciplined, and something just felt off. Just a slow grind where everything that used to feel easy started feeling twice as hard. Recovery took longer, energy wasn't the same, mental sharpness just wasn't where it needed to be. You see, men start losing testosterone around age 30. It's about 1% every year, but here's the part that really got me, which is even when your body is still producing testosterone, there's a protein called SHBG that literally locks it up so you can't use it. It's like having money in the bank, but your debit card doesn't work. Your T is there, you just can't access it. That's the testosterone trap, and that's exactly what Mars Men is designed to address. They sent this to me to try, and the difference I've noticed is absolutely steady, consistent energy throughout the day. It's not a caffeine spike, it's just a cleaner sense of drive. Stronger in the gym, sharper mentally. 8 naturally, clinically dosed ingredients like Tongkat Ali, Shilajit, vitamin D, zinc, boron, and more. There's no synthetics, no needles. It's made in the USA and third-party tested. Over 91% of users report higher energy levels, and there's a 90-day money-back guarantee, so there's zero risk. For a limited time, our listeners can get 50% off for life plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. That's mengotomars.com for 50% off and 3 free gifts when you check out. And it's also available on Amazon. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support the show and tell them that our show Mic Drop sent you. These statements and products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition.
So there are times when understanding how to fight underneath people is going to be necessary. But the most important thing about this is like when you drive by the basketball court and you see guys playing basketball, you don't roll your window down and say, hey, would that work in a fight? Yeah. And they're not fighting. They're playing a game.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu is a game, a big portion of it. And I think it's important to be able to distinguish between, hey, we're here having fun with our friends. We're learning movement patterns. We're seeing if our body can do this. And it tasks your body in a lot of different ways for fitness, for mobility. There is an element of jiu-jitsu. We're just there playing, having fun. Now, there's also an element of jiu-jitsu. If someone's in my house at night, and this happened to me. A guy tried to break into my house, and I arm dragged him and choked him unconscious in like 4 seconds.
No shit. When did that happen?
Dude, I was a blue belt.
Oh, wow.
So I think 2005.
Wow.
You want to hear it?
Yeah.
Crazy story.
Yeah.
The girl that was living at my house at the time wakes me up, and it's 2:30 in the morning, and she says, there's a guy trying to get in the front door. And he's like rattling the door handle, trying to get in. So I grabbed my AR-15, and I was on break from Ramadi at the time. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I was like, give me one reason. Young Rangers just hoping. And I pie around the corner of my house, and I have my AR, and I hit him with my Surefire. And I don't know how he knew this, Because to him, I would assume it just looked like a flashlight, right? He immediately started saying, shoot me, bitch, fucking shoot me. Shoot me, I dare you to. And he was on the front porch of my house. And as soon as I came around the corner, he started backing up. And now as he's backing up, I'm walking towards the porch. Now I'm on the porch with the gun on him. He's out in the yard. And very clearly intoxicated. And he had tight jeans on and a tight white t-shirt. And I could see I didn't observe a weapon or anything that was of concern. So I told Michelle, I said, take my gun inside, put it on the counter, call 911, and just charge the dude, hit him with an arm drag. He went right into a choke, and he was literally unconscious in like 4 seconds.
Damn.
And that was my first time using jiu-jitsu in a real-world application, and it surprised me. I was like, oh, this stuff works that fast. And then I sat him on the ground, and I put my hooks in, and I loosened the choke, and he came to. And I said, okay, we're going to wait for the police. If you try and fight me anymore, more of that's going to happen. Cops get there. They say, hey, are you ready? Yeah, we're going to take him into custody. Go ahead, let him up. And the cop drops a knee on him, puts him in handcuffs. And he says, then the guy's on the ground in handcuffs going, you got it wrong. It's my house. I'm the one being assaulted. I live here. He attacked me at my house. And as a cop showing up at 3 a.m, they're like, wait, what's going on here? Hey, you come over here. We're going to try and figure this out. And he literally says, take my ID. It's in my pocket. Look at my ID. Cop grabs his ID. It's my address.
No shit.
And the cop shows me and goes, why don't you explain this then? And I look at it and I said, you know what, officer? I've lived here for 2 years. I do remember getting pieces of mail with that name on it to this address when I moved in 2 years ago. And he says to the guy, he says he bought this house 2 years ago. And you saw like the drunken aha moment. And he goes, oh, that's right. I rented a room here a couple years ago, but I moved to Everett. So this is what happened.
Yeah.
The guy was at a bar. He got blacked out drunk, gets in a taxi, gives him his ID, and the guy drives into my house. And he's so drunk, he's like, yeah, this looks like home. And dude, if my front door was unlocked, that guy would be dead right now.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Dude, that is nuts.
That's nuts, man. But it is funny because the cops are like, well, do you want to press charges? Do you want to get him for trespassing? I said, I don't want to do any of that. I said, the guy showed up being a drunken fool. He got choked out and we're all good. You know, so nothing ever transpired of it.
Wow. He never came back?
No, I've always wondered. I wouldn't recognize what the guy looks like if we ever were to randomly cross paths again. But there's always a part of me that's like,
dude, that's nuts.
What
man.
A strange story. A guy almost died from just being a drunken fool.
I mean, and that's a tough, I think it's important to highlight that that's the kind of shit cops have to deal with. Like that's a tough scenario for them to come into. Like they don't know.
No.
You know, and it sounds like they handled it about as good as they could have.
Yeah.
You know, but that, you know, a young cop with an itchy trigger finger and adrenaline, like that could have gone south too.
For sure, man.
You know,
and dude, like that's why I don't miss the profession of law enforcement whatsoever. Yeah. And anytime I talk about law enforcement, like I was with the Marshal Service and then I was with the port. So neither of those agencies are doing much stuff with like DV or residential. So like I know most patrol cops had a harder go than I had. But that truth still holds true, is that every day it's something weird, it's something different. It's people in turmoil, it's people in conflict, and you're dealing with people on their worst day every day of your life, and that is not a healthy place to exist for a long period of time.
Yeah, wow. That's a nutty story.
Yes, crazy.
So back to jiu-jitsu, I guess, though. You've grown your academy to where now it's 300 plus students.
Yeah, we actually had to... we closed down our kids class because we don't have any more room.
Wow. And
we even expanded the mat room once already.
Yeah.
And we're looking to do it again. But as you know, like go back to government involvement.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you need this, you need a survey, you need a wetland permit, you need this, you need that. And so like we did an expansion in 2022 and we're still dealing with all of the regulations and whatnot. And it's 4 years later. Wow. And so hopefully whenever this round of expansion gets buttoned up, it'll be time. It's already time for another one.
Wow.
And I built big pole buildings on a big lot, and like the way that those are constructed, you can just zip off the end of it and extend the building 10, 20 feet or whatever. So
Well, that's nice. Where did the 5-day dry fast come from?
So I have a buddy who lives in Seattle, and he is like a biohacker. That's his name's Sean McCormick. He's a cool guy. But one of his passions is like always optimizing performance. And he read a book called The Phoenix Protocol. And it's written by a Russian doctor.
It's always the Russians.
Yeah, it's always Russians, right? And what they found is like the benefits of fasting are well documented and well understood now. Even a few years ago, water fasting, people were like, "You're a nut. What are you doing?" Right? But dry fasting, the easiest way to explain it is when your body goes into starvation, it goes into something called autophagy, where your body now starts to cannibalize itself. But your body is inherently smart, and it will cannibalize tissues that are either sick or dysfunctional. Same thing with your mitochondria through mitophagy. Your body will consume the dysfunctional mitochondria or the dysfunctional cells like tumor cells, cancer cells as a means of sustainment first.
Yeah.
And that's where the power of fasting has become kind of mainstream. Well, what this Russian doctor did is he found that if he cut out not only food but water as well, autophagy occurred at a 5x rate. And they were finding that I believe it is 11 days is their most advanced, that's the hardest dry fast or the longest dry fast that you can do. That it's resolving all types of like really aggressive cancers, really aggressive tumors. And my buddy said, "Hey, read this book. I'm going to do a 5-day dry fast and see how my body responds." And I'm just always up for weird shit, right? Like there's a reason he called me, right?
Yeah.
And so I told my wife, and she goes, "I'm going to do it with you. That sounds interesting." Which thank God, because misery loves company. Because I can tell you, have you ever done any water fasting?
A little bit.
Okay, so like the longest water fast I've ever done is 10 days. Day 1, day 2, you're hungry, you feel kind of off. But after that, your body almost goes into a rhythm where you feel comfortable. With dry fasting, every moment that it continued, all I could think about more and more was water. To the point where, and we did 5 full days of no food, no water. And you can't even open your mouth in the shower and get like a drop of water down your throat, because part of the mechanism that makes this work is your body understanding I'm depleted of everything and I have to be very careful on how I utilize resources. And even one sip of water, I guess, can like throw the protocol off. And bro, it gets to the point where it's like integrity.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in the shower and I'm like, I could literally just go, no one would have to know.
Yeah.
But my wife and Sean were doing it with me, and I had to be accountable to them. And it got to the point that by the end of day 5, I was so depleted. I think I was down 22 pounds. But here's an important thing to highlight. I drove to the grocery store, grabbed a cart, and went and bought a bunch of coconut water, got back in my car, drove home, and then drank them. So like, even though I felt like death, you're nowhere near knocking on death's door if you can go do that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I didn't eat or drink, nothing. I consumed no foods, no fluids for 5 whole days. And supposedly that really, there's 2 things it does. It causes autophagy for your body to consume a lot of its dysfunctional cells. But the other thing it does is it causes a big release of stem cells production from the bone marrow in your femurs. And so obviously our community especially I've done stem cells prior to that because they're very advantageous for healing. And this is a natural way to cause healing throughout your whole body. I had lots of people writing me, telling me that I was going to die. I had a physician, and he's a friend of mine, but he's been a doctor a long time. He goes, "Bro, you're going to shut your kidneys down in I think he said 48 hours or something like that. Or no, it's 3 days. Because that's what we always hear. 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. We have these like arbitrary numbers that this is only what the body can handle. And bro, I was completely fine. Other than feeling like shit, but my health was completely fine. Now here's the part people always ask me, like, well, what benefits did you experience? Bro, it's hard to tell. You know, my buddy Sean that did it with me shit out a bunch of gallbladder stones.
Really?
And that's part of it. Like, however your body moves things through that process, it like pushed out gallbladder stones. And that was something that was talked about and he experienced. My wife has had allergies ever since I met her. Actually, that's not true. It was the following spring after we met. We met in fall.
So she's allergic to you then?
Yeah, no, I told her, I was like, man, I'm choosing you as a partner to reproduce with.
Yeah.
And a woman with allergies, I don't know if I'm genetically compatible with that. Because how in the fuck is someone allergic to grass?
Yeah.
Like, we're human beings, right? All of her allergies went away and they've never come back.
No doubt.
So again, like, what is the mechanism of that? I have no idea, but that's truth.
Did you do any like value testing, like blood work and like before and after or anything like that?
Sean did all that stuff.
Yeah.
So there is data on that if you're ever interested in connecting with him. I don't do much of that, and maybe it's just because I'm lazy. You know, I'm on TRT and people are like, you need to be tested every so often and blah, blah, blah. It's like, I get tested like every 2 years. And I feel good, and when I want to get in shape, my body gets in shape. It performs the way that I want it to perform. So it's like, I don't know if it's necessary. But I'm not giving you, if you look one of the first pages, and that's a medical disclaimer, because it's like, dude, I'm a ranger. I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling you what to do. But I just don't, intuitively, I feel like everything's working pretty good.
Yeah. I guess maybe the burning question I have is if the data or the consensus is that it is a 5x return on wet fasting. From your perspective, is it worth the difficulty of putting yourself through that if you can get the same result from wet fasting?
I would say no.
Yeah.
That's what if I had to just say, all right, one or the other, I don't think I will ever do a dry fast again unless I'm diagnosed with something
that requires it.
Yeah. And again, like the whole big pharma thing, like I feel like society is moving towards more of an understanding of both Western and Eastern medicine can have a marriage, and there's benefits to both. And I think before I would ever do any type of like really aggressive cancer treatments or anything like that, I would definitely go this route. But just for overall health, I know I'll incorporate regular water fasting probably a couple times a year for the rest of my life. But I don't think I'll do that again unless something comes up that I feel like it requires it.
Yeah. Wet fasting wise, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days? What do you
Usually
know?
just like 3 days.
3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do a 3-day water fast probably twice a year or something.
Yeah.
And the truth is, there's been a part of me that's like, maybe you should just fast like 1 day a week for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. Just let your body clear out everything. Because it's such a fallacy. 3 meals a day is what we have considered what you need to eat for sustenance. And like my kids miss lunch. Like, I'm starving. It's like, you're nowhere close to starving. And like the human experience from the beginning of time has been a combination of feast and famine. Mm-hmm. So I think going hungry for periods of time
regularly
is good for you.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there's no shortage of data that shows how beneficial it is to do regular. And it even goes back to biblical eras. I mean, there's a lot of talk about fasting in the Bible, and even prior to that, I mean, Egyptians fasted. I mean, there's like it's been something that's been part of the human experience forever.
Well, and it's empowering too.
Yeah.
Like I heard Jocko talk about it, where he's like, we get caught up thinking we have to eat every 2 hours, and he's like, I forget how long his fast was, but he did a long fast, and then he's like, oh, and then I'm traveling or I'm on a flight or whatever, don't need food. Like, I'm good. I don't need to eat like we think we need to. Yeah. So,
well, especially when the option is 7-Eleven
Yeah.
sushi versus, like
yeah, or just go hungry for a
or
couple
just maybe
hours.
not eat for the afternoon. Yeah, that's wild. The 5-day dry fast. Where would you rate that experience from a discipline standpoint compared to anything else?
Probably one of the hardest things I've done.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot think about anything other than water.
Oh.
And you want to know the interesting thing is this is where like men obviously we're tougher in like the physical realm. Like I'm probably going to beat my wife in a fight if they would ever come down to that.
We're going to clip that where it just says I'm probably going to beat my wife.
Well, exactly. When I'm running for governor in a couple years, but he was on a podcast talking about beating his wife. If me and my wife were to fight, I would probably win that fight 1,000 out of 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But when it comes to just grit and mental toughness, dude, day 5 came up and she goes, do you want to go for a week? I said, fuck no, I don't want to go for a week. I committed to 5 days, and when the clock hits 5 days, I'm out. And she goes, okay, I'll be out too then. But if you want to do 2 more days, I was going to do it. And I was like, oh,
You
man,
motherfucker.
savage.
Yeah.
Women are tougher than us, though, when it comes to like pain threshold.
To a lot of things, yeah. I mean, that's a trip. I have to ask, can you describe what that first sip of coconut water was like?
Bro, I shared that on social
remember watching
media
it, but
because I wanted to capture that moment. Bro, it's the best thing. You can't put because a lot of people have asked me that. I said the only way to truly know what it takes, what it feels like to take a drink of coconut water after not drinking anything for 5 days is you have to do that.
Yeah.
But it's crazy how much our emotions and our thoughts and our drive is tied directly into our physical needs, because it's all I could think about. Mm-hmm. Like one of the things that the book said, it said, one thing that you can do is if you go underwater and open your eyes, it almost feels like the water can almost moisturize like your eyes. Almost. And they said, and even if because I had, you know how the internet is, some people are like, well, if you're going in water, you're actually absorbing some water. So that's you're not truly doing a dry fast. And that's addressed in the book. It says there are minute amounts of fluid that can be absorbed through your skin and through your eyes. But what they found is drinking it in the traditional manner is what shuts off the autophagy. Mm. So if you can get a little bit of water through your skin or through your eyes, supposedly that doesn't disturb the protocol. And I would go into my ice barrel, and this was in the summer too. So like in Washington, my ice barrel it's just the ambient temperature, and sit in there and just keep my eyes open. It felt like you were just going, loop, loop. It was like so refreshing to just open your eyes underwater.
Yeah. Meanwhile, it looks like you're high as fuck all the time. Your eyes are so red from leaving them open. Man, that's such a trip. I'm curious, like when you did drink and like did you stop pissing at a certain point in that
Never
fight?
stopped pissing. That's the other bizarre part of it.
Really?
Never. I mean, it wasn't like, obviously there's not an excess of fluid, but I pissed regularly the whole time.
Really?
Yep.
Like not super
That's part of like your
brown
body breaking down the intercellular water that is a byproduct of these cells getting broken down. You just piss it out.
So it wasn't even dark?
It was darker than normal, but I was wondering if it was going to look like Coca-Cola, and it wasn't.
Wow. Dude, that's...
But again, I think I lost 22 pounds.
Yeah.
And then it was back up within a couple days.
Yeah.
Just boom.
When you first drank, and that, two things, I guess. When you first drank, did it mess with your stomach at all?
No.
And like, how long did you drink before you ate something again?
Well, that's where I always fuck these fasts up.
So I drove through Taco Bell.
Yeah, no, same thing with weight cutting when I was doing MMA, and I only took a few fights, but still, like, my coach wanted me to fight at 155. Man, it's like, what? Yeah. I'm just doing some local amateur fights, right? And I usually walk around. Back then, I was walking around like 185. So you're cutting 30 pounds, and like, okay, well, after weigh-in, sip water very slowly, rehydrate. This is the protocols. And I would just chug a bottle of water and eat as much food as I could. Like, and I did the same thing with this fast. I was like,
you ate right away?
Yeah, just binged.
Yeah, and
I felt fine.
Yeah, it didn't mess your stomach up or anything?
No.
Like, didn't shit yourself or anything?
Not that I recall.
That's such a trip, man. What a journey. In a similar, like, are you feeling all right, Greg, type of mentality. Yeah, you're leaving May 1st for a 3,100-mile trip, right?
Yep.
Tell us about, how that came to be and what the details are.
Well, if you go on Instagram, there's a guy, his Instagram title is Jack Jarvis Fit, and he's a freak. This summer, you know what he's doing? He's actually running from Beijing to London. And I say summer, it's probably going to take him a year, so maybe but regardless, he does these physical feats that most people will look at and just be like, how is that possible? And he and a couple of his friends rowed a boat from New York to London last summer, and it took him 55 days.
Wow. And
I followed his journey because they had a Starlink and they would post updates, and I was just fascinated by it. And I wrote him an email. I was like, you've inspired me to want to do this. And we started talking, and we hopped on a Zoom, and bro, he's one of us. He's just a dude that loves doing wild shit. And he was in the British military and whatnot. And there was just a lot of similarities in us. And I said, I'm going to do this. And talked to some friends, and I committed to it. And committing to it for me was easy because it looked like an adventure. It looked like fun. So I just said, hey, I'm going to do this. But then after I say that, now I have to.
Yeah.
Because that's that's an ethos of men like us. If you don't talk about it unless you're going to do it. And so I went home, I told my wife, and she's very supportive. She's cool. You know, like our kids are at the age now where I can leave for 2 months. And she knows that I've always been called to do these different things. But one thing I've realized is like being an Army Ranger, being a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, like people look at those paths and like, wow, that looks difficult. It looks hard. And it is. I'm not saying it wasn't, but it was hard in bite-sized chunks that you just wake up and do again. Jiu-Jitsu's hard an hour at a time for 10,000 hours, and then you're a black belt. But I've always been fascinated by men that can go out there and just push their body to the absolute brink, like Cam Hanes.
Yeah.
Like the longest run I've ran a couple half marathons, and then you got guys that go out and run 300 miles. What does that mean? What does that entail? What does that feel like? David Goggins. I read a book called Ultra Marathon Man. Have you ever heard of that? It's written by Dean Karnassus. Same thing, a guy that goes out and runs 300 miles. But the reason he did it, he was at a bar one night. He was financially successful businessman, had some firm, like everything was working. And he was partying for, I think it was his 30th birthday. And he sees this hot girl and he's kind of flirting with her. He's like, oh, I might take this girl home and fuck her. Like, and then he goes in the bathroom and he looks himself in the mirror and he says, look at you. Think you got it all figured out. You got money, you got the job, you got a wife and kids back home, and you're out thinking about doing this. Your punishment is to run home to your family. That's your punishment. And it starts now. And it was 30 miles to his house. And he wasn't a runner. And he said through that process, he goes, my feet were fucked, like ripped the skin of my feet off. I was in so much pain. It was the most painful experience of my life. He goes, but through that process, I had more clarity than any other moment. And that's a truth of men or just humans in general. When you push yourself outside of your comfort zone, it's almost like it opens up another realm for you to be able to meet who you really truly are. And I read that book, and this came out in 2005. I've been fascinated by ultra endurance athletes. Or like, have you heard of Courtney Dauwalter? She's this girl that runs with Cam Hanes, and she beats everybody in all these ultra races. She wins the men's divisions.
Oh, wow.
And she'll be out running 300 miles, and she'll say, oh, I'm tired, I have to take a nap. She'll curl up in a ball on the trail and set her watch for 1 minute. Beep, back up, running again. And so I've always watched these people do this crazy shit, and it's like, I've always wanted to know what it's like to be one of those people, or if I could be one of those people. Because when you're sitting in your couch and you're watching, have you watched 14 Peaks? Oh, bro, I know what you're doing tonight. It's a guy named Nims Purja who set the world record. It's since been broken, like world records are. But at the time, he set the world record for climbing the 14 biggest mountains on Earth. And you sit and watch these people do this really inspirational stuff. There's always a part of me that's like, could you do that? And then I always say, you could do that. Because that's just how we're wired, right?
I could do that.
I could do that.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck saying I could do that. Go do something like that. And that was one of the things that made me want to commit to this row. I've always been drawn to the ocean. I grew up and my dad was a commercial fisherman. So in the springs and summer, I was in Southeast Alaska living on a boat. I've always been called back to the ocean. I've always known at some point I'm going to go sail the world. That's been me and my wife. That's part of our plan. And it still is. But then this opportunity came up and I said, man, I can do a big ocean crossing and I can test myself in the realm of endurance to a capacity that I've never been tested. I'm going to do this. And then I went into mission planning and mission prep. And to tell you the truth, bro, that's been one of the funnest aspects of it.
Really?
Like, men having mission is important. And now I have mission with my family, with my Jiu-Jitsu Academy. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, I was in this dark place and I needed to find something to pull me out. But it's something new. I had to learn a lot of things. I had to learn about like installing an AIS system on our boat so I can have real-time updates of any other boats in the area and how to work the solar panel system and all these different things. And through the last 6 months of planning for this preparation or preparing for this expedition rather, has been exciting. It almost feels like we were talking earlier, like an element of play, an element of excitement. And then I spent every waking hour on the Concept 2 for probably 6 months. Like I logged over 1 million meters on my Concept 2. And now here we are 3 weeks out. I'm like, I'm done exercising. I'm just going to chill. The work's been put in and there's still a few little logistical things that we're trying to take care of, but it's real and it's happening.
Dude, that's
and
impressive,
on May 1st, a team of 4 men are rowing a boat from the coast of Washington all the way to Maui, Hawaii.
Where your wife will be on the shore and she'll be like, do you want to go to Guam?
Yeah, no,
How about we go to Guam?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because me and one of the guys on the team is from Guam.
Oh, really?
And we were actually joking about that.
Who are the other 3 guys?
So it's my buddy Joshua Dukes, who was a firefighter, and he lives in Maui.
Oh, okay.
So we kind of joke, we're just rowing from my house to Joshua's house. He was a firefighter in Maui that ended up losing his job over the mandatory vaccination thing. And because I lost my job through the COVID era, we started following each other. We started talking. And he's become one of my best friends through the process.
Cool.
Amazing human being. Will Notel, who is one of my brown belts and one of my assistant coaches, and he heads up the kids program at our academy. He's actually not from Guam. He's from Saipan. But all the islanders, like, they have a really strong community in the Pacific Northwest. And he's excited to partake in this voyage to really show, like, his community of people, hey, we can go do these wild feats and these wild expeditions. Because he said it's culturally, this kind of thing isn't really this is like crazy white guy stuff, right? And so he's like, no, man, I want to lead.
I want to be a crazy white guy.
Yeah. And then my buddy Johnny Martinez, who's like the world's weird how people get connected. He's a former Marine, and he's the only young guy on the boat. He's 31, but he's a stud endurance athlete. And he attended one of my courses, our Guns and Geese course that me and Greg Lappin used to run. He came as a student, and then we just connected. And then 5 years later, I invited him on this journey. So,
dude, that's awesome. So how is the rig set up? And like, how does the logistics work of actually doing it?
So the boat, if anyone wants to look it up, it's called a Ronick 45. And it's like 24 feet long. It has 3 rowing positions on the deck and then 2 cabins, one on each end, which are sleeping quarters. The cabins are small, though. They're like getting into a coffin, right? And how it's going to work for our team, being a team of 4, it's going to be 3-hour shifts. So you're on the oars for 3 hours, and then you're off for 3 hours. And you literally do that for 60 days.
Dude, that's brutal, man.
It's going to be... The thing is, like, We all did we did a substantial amount of training on our Concept 2s just because that's very convenient. But we took the boat out and we did a 24-hour test run on the ocean. And with the shifts on and off, on and off. So each rower rowed for 12 hours and then we were in the cabin for 12 hours. And I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was exciting. But when I got done, I was like, doing this 60 days in a row, I can't comprehend what that means.
Yeah. Dude, that's going to be gnarly, man.
It's going to be really gnarly.
I mean, because from a sleep cycle standpoint, like REM sleep and recovery and like that, it's one thing to do that for a few days. 60 days of that, like that's going to put you in a mental place I assume you've never been in before.
Exactly. But bro, you know how it is to become something you've never been. You have to do things you've never done.
For sure.
And we've been doing that our whole lives. I also feel like, I mean, sure, we're old and our knees hurt and our hips hurt from like a lifetime of jiu-jitsu, but I also still have my physicality and my health. And I'm like, I want to do something. Like I already talked about how watching other people do these really massive expeditions or massive feats of endurance, I've always wanted to do it. Now's the time. Yeah. I have the financial ability to be able to do it. And then I still have my health. So why not?
Yeah. How does the logistics work from a communication standpoint? Food, is there a desalination thing on there?
So the boat comes with a desalinator. So you push a button and it pumps the water out of the ocean and comes out a little blue tube on the side of the boat. And then you bring a second one that's a hand pump desalinator just for redundancy. Because obviously if water goes out, you're done.
Yeah.
But the mission is unsupported. So there's no rescue boat. In the event we need rescue, you literally just have to get on your VHF radio or send a call out and say, hey, for whatever reason, we're tapping out.
Right.
But if you tap out, because there's been teams that have done this before, you leave your boat.
Yeah.
Like how open ocean rescues, how it works is some cargo ship from who knows where gets your signal, and they have a little like the jungle penetrator that we used to put out of the side of the Blackhawk, something like that.
That was my nickname in Guam, by the way.
Oh, was it? Okay.
No, but it should be.
I got it. I'm tracking now. Yeah, it's like a JP hoist or something, and they can pick you out of the boat or out of the water, but you can't bring anything with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
And so it's, for me, obviously the Pacific Ocean can ultimately do whatever it wants to me. I'm not delusional in understanding that, but I also planned it around these specific dates. So the winds, the currents are all as advantageous as they can be. We bought the right boat. This boat is built for ocean expeditions. It's a neutrally buoyant hull. If they roll, they self-righten. You can't get the boat upside down. Like I told the manufacturer, I said, hey, me and my team are going to roll the boat when it arrives just to get a test run of what that feels like. And they laughed at me. They said, good luck.
Oh, really?
I said, just so you know, like that's part of our quality control. We roll every boat that comes out of our factory. And when your boat was rolled, they put a strap underneath it and they hook it to a crane. And they said they almost have to lift it out of the water before it'll finally go.
Wow. Just
because of how it's constructed.
Yeah.
And so like I've taken all the precautions that I can take. We have obviously VHF radio. We have the AIS system. We have the chart plotter. I have a brand new solar panel system with brand new lithium batteries.
What is the wattage of panels wise? Do you recall?
I don't know you're the second person that's asked me that. I feel dumb not being able to answer.
I just know because I've looked a lot at like RV minivans and campers and stuff that have solar, and usually like for like a Sprinter van RV setup, and anything less than 400 watt panels, they're usually 200 watt panels, and there's usually at least 2 or even 4 of them.
Uh-huh.
Like to be able to sustain off-grid life relatively well, you need at least 400 or probably 800 ideally.
All right, well, I'm going to text you in the next couple of days. I'm going to pull those numbers.
Yeah, I'd be curious.
But so how it works is there's 2 batteries and there's 2 panels, and you have the ability to switch what panel is charging what battery just based on the position of the sun. But you only run one. You can run both batteries together, but it was not built to have both batteries running. You're running on battery 1 or battery 2.
Yeah.
And we ran the boat all night on that 24-hour run. And the two biggest draws of power are your auto rudder. So you literally put in an azimuth in your GPS, and the boat goes that way.
Oh, wow.
And so you're just putting power into the oars, but the boat steers itself automatically.
Dude, that's intense.
Based on the auto rudder, right?
That's cool as shit.
Now, obviously, there's redundancies on that too. You can manually steer the boat if you lose power. But we were also fighting some fucked up currents and a pretty gnarly headwind. So the rudder was just all night. You could hear it zzz, 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 always trying to correct. And we had one battery go down to 80%.
Wow.
Sunrise was at about 7:15, and within 30 minutes of sunrise, it was topped off at 100% again.
Yeah. So you have the rudder. What else are you powering?
You're powering, obviously, your water maker. Your water maker is one of your biggest power draws because it's a big pump. The cylinder inside of it is like 5 inches in diameter, and it really has to push that salt water through a very fine like mesh. So they said the way that you do that is you pump like 10 or 20 liters of water at like high noon when the sun is just at its optimal position, and then you store that water, and that's what you use for the next 24 hours.
That makes sense.
So that's the biggest power draw is the water pump. The next one is the auto rudder. And then after that, there's just, your VHF radio, your AIS system, your chart, your chart plotter.
Are you using a Starlink?
Yes,
Yeah,
Starlink.
that's 20 watts or so,
Yep.
probably.
But Starlink is only, most of these things are not a draw 24/7. You plug it in when you want to send an email or upload something to Instagram, and then you unplug it. And obviously we don't know how all of that's going to work yet, but you plan your day and your power usage around obviously the sun.
Yeah. Man, that's super cool. The filtration system, is it a filter system that's only good for so many gallons that you'd have to replace it, or is it like a...
I don't know what its shelf life is, like how many overall, but I know they're good for long expeditions.
Like you shouldn't run into shit, it's not working anymore.
No. Yeah, you could be out for like a year or some shit.
What are you taking with you personally?
Food-wise?
I mean, everything, I guess. Is it all dehydrated? Like how many sets of clothes?
So are you familiar with the company Peak Refuel?
Yeah.
They sponsored the trip.
Oh, damn, that's
And
cool.
they're sending us with 2 million calories. And it was cool, man, because I landed on Peak Refuel just because they are like the premium brand of mountaineering and dehydrated food. So I literally wrote them an email and I said, hey, this is my plan. This is what I'm doing. I am going to purchase all the food from you guys. Or if you want to have some type of partnership and we put the logo on the boat and we really we highlight your product, let us know if you'd be interested in anything like that, a little bit, a lot of it. And they wrote me back right away and are like, we're going to cover the whole journey.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
Dude, that's
like,
really cool.
That's literally like $12,000 worth of food.
Damn. And so it's all dehydrated.
It's all dehydrated.
And space-wise,
the whole of the boat is where you have your seats where you're sitting, obviously, to row. And then the whole of the boat has a bunch of doors, the waterproof doors.
Yeah.
You can just cram a bunch of food.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and here's the thing, because we're already like, okay, fuck, how much space can we utilize for things outside of just other than absolute necessities? Because you need to bring a toolkit for all the unforeseen things that can happen on a boat. You have to bring a medical bag. You have to bring like a boat repair kit with like caulking and glues and plugs, all that kind of stuff. You have to bring survival suits. You have to bring a life raft to be in like Coast Guard compliance. You have to have all of this stuff. So I bought like a little tiny life raft and cold water immersion suits. We have all of that stuff. Our goal is to be able to put all of the equipment in the whole of the boat and the food, and then all personal gear, your own clothes, whatever you bring, your AirPods, your whatever, that all lives in the cabin with you.
Yeah. Clothes-wise, how much are you bringing?
Not a lot.
Yeah, like two or three sets.
Yeah, but here's the thing that's weird about it is that because we're launching in May out of Washington, May in Washington can be 48 degrees and pouring rain.
Yeah.
And if you're not properly clothed, then you're going to get hypothermia and die. And so we all bought like sailing gear, like really high quality, like Helly Hansen sailing gear that's really waterproof. And then it has like the rubber sleeves, the rubber neck. And that's the most expensive and the most spacious stuff. And if you need it though, you need it.
Yeah.
And so we'll probably need that maybe the first couple weeks. And then after that, we're going to be far enough south that stuff will probably not be needed at all. But now what do you do? It's better to have and not need than to need and not have,
right,
unless you don't have space.
Yeah.
So that's
yeah.
But as far as like shorts and T-shirts, stuff like that, probably just a couple pairs each.
And other than in the cabin, are you exposed to the elements the entire time?
100%.
Yeah. So like
you can't put any type of overhead cover or canopy on the boat because if it were to roll, that works as a anchor, water anchor and prevents it from self-rightening.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing. We have a 12-foot parachute anchor.
Oh, wow.
Have you ever used those?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like, for people that aren't familiar, the concept of the parachute anchor, it's on like a 50-foot line, and it's 12 feet in diameter, so it holds a substantial volume of water. And then if the surface is very choppy and the boat's bouncing up and down, once it's secured to that, it holds it in place. So now your boat will really cut through the waves as opposed to just being at the whim of whatever the surface is doing.
Yeah, wow.
But you only put that on
if it's really gnarly.
If it's really gnarly, throw the parachute anchor, everybody crawls in the cabin, and you just button down the hatches and ride it out.
Yeah.
Jack Jarvis, the guy I referenced earlier, he told me, he goes, hey, pro tip, everybody should bring a rugby helmet.
Really?
Yeah, he goes, because when it's gnarly out there,
wow,
your head's getting bashed around the side of the boat.
In that case, I mean, there's only 2 cabins, right? Are you nut to butt inside the cabin, 2 dudes each?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, typically your cabin mate is going to be on the oars.
Right.
So one person's rowing, one person's in the cabin. But in the event of a storm or fucked up conditions, there's room for you both to crawl in there.
Yeah. Trash-wise, is it just throwing it over? Or
no.
Keep everything?
Well, it's funny you say that because I forget what the rule is. There's a certain amount of, if you're this far off coast, you can throw trash into the ocean.
Yeah.
But the team all agreed. Other than we did find a company that makes biodegradable ass wipes. Right?
Yeah.
Like, we're not keeping those on the boat, but that's why we obviously chose a company that's biodegradable, right?
Yeah.
Outside of that, everything we take out, we're taking in.
Yeah.
And we don't know exactly what that process is going to look like yet. Like, do we allocate one specific spot to being the trash for the duration of the journey? Or do we kind of use it and collect it as we go, and then when space opens up, shift it around? We'll see, man. Because another consideration is weight distribution too.
Sure.
Like if one side of the boat gets even slightly heavier than the other, it starts to really affect the aerodynamicness of it and how it can cut through the water. What I was told to do is when we launch the boat, because you can't trailer it with any of the weight on board, because bouncing on the trailer with weight, it's not designed to do that. It can damage the boat. So you put it in the water with nothing in it, and you mark the sides with like a pencil or a Sharpie when it's just sitting with no weight. And then as you load it up, you try and keep as level as possible.
Yeah, almost like ballast tanks or whatever. Going to the bathroom, how does that work?
Another good question. Yeah. We bought a Yeti bucket, and that's it. You scoop water out, you sit on it, you shit, and then you dump it overboard.
Wow.
But again, Jack's team, this is one of the pro tips. They said we bought just like one of those like Home Depot buckets. They said it fucking cracked.
Yeah.
And now you're getting shit water on the deck of your boat.
Damn.
And so we went above and beyond. I forget, Yeti buckets are like $100 or something. Ridiculously expensive for a bucket.
But priceless.
But I don't want shit water. I don't want shit water on the deck of the boat.
Yeah. Damn. In terms of like personal items, phone, pictures, anything like that, like are you bringing any comfort items, or is it
We are bringing phones, and through the Starlink we'll be able to text and then upload to Instagram and stuff like that. But one of the things we all agreed on as a team is we can stay in communication with our families and we can post to social media, but we're not going to consume any social media.
Yeah.
There's no scrolling in the cabin and just getting sucked into all the stuff like we already talked about. And again, it's like there's a dichotomy there because, again, informed but not consumed, right? But at the same time, these 2 months are about this team of men experiencing what we're supposed to experience out there. And it's not what fucking Tucker Carlson's saying or what Donald Trump's tweeting. Like we are being very intentional of trying to step away from all of that stuff.
Yeah, dude, that's super cool. In terms of like snacks or like, is the peak fuel all you're doing and water? Or are you bringing like
we're bringing lots
coffee
of snacks.
And
yeah. So there's another company called Strong Coffee, which is
I've heard of them.
Yeah, it's really good coffee that comes in a powder form.
Oh, okay.
And they decided to pick us up, and so they're sending us with a bunch of coffee.
Like a jet boil to heat the water?
Jet boil to heat the water. First Form sent us a lot of protein powder.
Oh, nice.
To be able to just supplement and make it quick too, right?
Yeah.
Because to eat a meal requires you to heat water up, and that whole ordeal, it doesn't take a tremendous amount of time, but sometimes it may not be available. So we're bringing a lot of other food options. And we'll really just, I guess what we'll see is just like once we're packing the boat on April 29th, we'll see what's available, how much space we can utilize.
Wow. Dude, that's such a cool...
Dude, Montana Knife Company, another shout out.
Yeah.
Because Andrew Oliver is one of the guys that works there. I actually met him randomly at one of Tony Cowden's long-range shooting courses, and we hit it off. So I texted him. I said, hey, this is what we're doing. Would Montana Knife Company be interested in picking it up as a sponsorship? Not for no monetary thing, just provide the knives for the journey. You know how many knives they sent us?
Probably like 400.
They sent 16 knives.
Damn.
3 personal knives for each rower, 2 fillet knives, 2 deboning knives.
Are you bringing any fishing gear?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you plan on trying to fish?
For sure.
Would you just eat that as sushi or would you try to cook it?
Well, I bought a plate for the jet boil.
Oh, okay.
And so we can cook there and saute and put some seasoning on and maybe some like beef tallow or whatever. I did buy, there's this clamshell solar oven.
Oh, yeah.
You just open it up and aim it at the sun, and it gets up to 500 degrees.
Yeah, I've seen tube versions of that where it's like it looks like a 4-inch, maybe not even 4, like a 3-inch pipe made of glass.
Yeah, and that's it. The cylinder pulls out. You put the food in there.
Yeah.
But bro, I ordered it off of Amazon. It showed up. It's 30 pounds.
Have you tried it?
No, because it's literally probably 3 feet long.
Yeah.
And it's 30 pounds.
Yeah, it's wild.
And I was like, we don't have the space for this. So as a team, we decided we're going to go with, we can bring a few more fuel canisters for the jet boil and just cook food that way.
Yeah. Wow.
But my buddy Joshua, who's from Maui, he's like, bro, I'm going to eat almost all the fish raw. We do it all the time. Have ceviche cookouts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what I would do. Go full Tom Hanks Castaway, just biting into the fish. Like, yeah.
Knocking out teeth with an ice skate.
Yeah. In the event, has the circumstance been dirt dove of like some crazy world thing that happens that you guys are halfway there and it's like, is there a protocol? Is there a
mission continues?
Yeah.
No matter what.
No matter what.
We've even agreed if someone were to die on the boat, they're buried at sea.
No shit.
And we finish the mission to honor them. Because if we go halfway across the ocean and someone has an aneurysm,
you can't save them anyway. But
can't save them anyways. And what does that say for the mission if we just throw in the towel because something fucked up happened?
Yeah.
So like we all agreed. You know what else we agreed on? Because talking about being the doomsday preppers, 3 of us are from the States. Josh was from Hawaii. So if there were to be something where like the world's imploding, the EMP attack or something, and now the whole world's in shambles, we drop Joshua off and I'm rowing back to Washington to be with my family.
Yeah.
Although that we're going against the currents. So that would be still, it's like we're going to do what we got to do.
I mean, if there was a family member emergency halfway through, it's tough shit. You're like, if your wife was in a car accident and where, your kid gets hit or, something crazy, like,
I don't know, man.
Have you thought
it's
about it?
easy to sit here and say mission first, right? But at the same time, if there was something that my family needed me for that was like there's not even a conversation to be had. Like, my girls need me. Yeah. I guess I'll cross that bridge when I get there. But as of now, well, here's the other thing. There is no mommy button.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if we have to call for rescue, that means we're leaving the boat. We're leaving everything behind. We'll be down fucking $100,000, right?
Is that what that boat cost?
That's what the boat cost.
$100,000.
And I bought that out of pocket, bro.
Damn. That is
So we have some really good sponsors. I actually hired a wealth coach last year. I know people hear that and they think, oh, come on.
A what coach?
A wealth coach.
Oh, okay.
And it's not like, oh, hey, like, give me access to your portfolio and we're going to do this with your 401k. He teaches you how to trade and become very proficient in the stock market. And so he actually kicked $100,000 to the journey himself.
Oh, wow.
And so his name's Jeremy Newsom.
Have you used his principles with success?
My wife is already my sugar mama, teaching his principles or utilizing his principles.
Wow, that's amazing.
Bro, the stock market's a weird thing.
I know it, especially when you realize it's only a handful of companies.
And it's a weird game that everybody plays.
Yeah.
And our coach, Jeremy, he's a white belt, but he's dabbled in jiu-jitsu enough to be able to speak the language. And I literally said this verbatim to Andy Stump last week on his show. But what he said to me is like, hey, I want you to think of the stock market as open mat. You show up to open mat and there's 50 white belts and you're a purple belt. How does the morning go for you? And he's like, yeah, you just clean up. You know, you have your way with people. He goes, 98% of the stock market is white belts.
Yeah.
He goes, through my teachings, I build people to purple belt level competency in trading.
Wow.
And he goes, when you're a purple belt and you're going against white belts, 9 times out of 10, you're successful. Now, there is that collegiate wrestler that just started jiu-jitsu that has a white belt on.
Yeah.
And he can tune you up, right? That's the stock market. That'll happen to you too. But he goes, as long as you're stacking more wins than losses, that's a path to financial freedom.
Yeah. Wow. Is there a protocol other than hitting the Mayday button for extraction? Like, do you have a global rescue kind of thing? Or
yeah, each person has an individual EPIRB. Are you familiar with what that is? It's literally a little like emergency beacon that'll be on your harness because you're harnessed into the boat.
Okay.
24/7. If you're not locked into a cabin, you're harnessed in with a climbing harness. And the boat has rigging to be able to stay harnessed in. That way, if a wave hits you or you roll, obviously you stay connected. But worst case scenario, you get pushed off and you weren't harnessed in, you have an individual EPIRB, which sends out an emergency beacon or emergency signal to be rescued, and a 10-digit grid. We also have a boat EPIRB, which is a larger emergency beacon that if for whatever reason us on the boat need to be rescued, you could activate that. We're bringing 2 Iridium phones for redundancy. We're bringing the Starlink. And then outside of that, we have something called a yellow brick tracker that it's literally like it's a yellow brick that you strap to the top of your boat and it gives real-time feedback of your position. And that's not necessarily a thing for rescue. That's so people can see where you're at on social media.
Yeah.
Right? You can go to your website, which is Row West Pacific, and they can see where you're at in real time, which is pretty cool. But obviously, if they know where you're at in real time, that can assist in a rescue if that were to need to happen.
Yeah. Do you know what entity monitors the EPIRB?
I don't know exactly how that works. I had people are nuts. I had one guy write me that said, "Hey, if this feels reckless to me because if you have to call for rescue and the U.S. Navy is who gets tasked to rescue you, are you prepared to pay taxpayers back?" I was like, you know what? I've been a fucking taxpayer my whole life. We'll call it even after that.
Yeah, no shit.
You know. Yeah. But as far as I'm not sure. Does it just go out to every boat? And whoever it's convenient for them to rescue. I would assume that's probably how it works, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, that'd be something.
I was just gonna say that's probably one more. That's probably one more thing I should get.
I imagine
I've been drinking from the fire hose on.
I was just thinking. I was like, I mean, just the questions I have in hearing about it and walking through it with you, I can't imagine. You know, it's like with most things, like I'm going to do this, and then the more layers you uncover, the more you realize are under there, and you're like, holy shit, I didn't think about this. Yeah, that's a good question. We didn't, like I can imagine there's
Yeah,
no
who does the EPIRB signal
go to, or is there a monitoring entity that's always waiting?
I do think there's a monitoring entity, but how they
triangulate or whatever,
how they disseminate that information, I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah. What's the total cost that you have into the entire thing?
As it sits right now, we are about $170,000,
And that's including.
and that includes Trump's $12,000 tariff on my boat.
$12,000 tariff.
Yeah, because my boat was built in London.
No way. Damn.
Bro, and I got an email, and it literally felt like mobster tactics. It said, "Hey, we've assessed your tariff for your pleasure craft." That's what they called it. I was like, "You guys haven't
Sounds
looked.
kinky.
You guys haven't looked into what this boat is. If you're calling it a pleasure craft, we've assessed the tariff rate at whatever, and it's $12,636. Your boat is available for pickup immediately upon receipt of payment."
Damn.
So they're literally saying, "Hey, your boat's at the port."
They're holding it.
And here's the thing: people are like, "Well, wait, like, is that shipping?" No, that was another $10,000 to ship it here.
Yeah.
This was just. And here's the weird thing about tariffs, and I'm not an economist. I don't understand how all this stuff works on a global level, right? But the way that it was sold is like, oh, these companies are going to be paying. No, whoever purchases it, now we're paying. It's a tax on us. You know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, $12,000 tariff on it, $10,000 shipping. The boat was about $100,000, and then in expedition fee just equipment fees, we're in at probably $30,000. Now, one thing I did tell, this is another use of the funds. I told all the guys on the team that part of the sponsorship money, we're going to give each rower $15,000 to do the journey, just so they have some type of. The last thing I want people worried about when we're out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean is if their insurance bill is getting paid, you know?
Yeah. So you're not getting laid for 2 months, or are you? It's a tight group.
Well, wait, what's the saying? Like
40 days in, you never know.
Like 100 sailors go out and 50 couples come back, right?
Well, that's in the Navy, yeah, for sure.
It's not gay if it's underway.
Actually, I think in the Navy, it'd be more like 15 couples. It'd be some
weird
three-ways
shit going on.
on.
A bunch of weird shit going on, huh? Well, yeah, that's another thing, man, because it's like, I've never put myself through a
60-day celibacy.
60 days celibacy
tour, yeah.
Well, and it's funny because the cabins, the rowers, when you row, you're facing the back of the boat.
Yeah.
My cabin's the back of the boat. Big glass window. My buddy Johnny Martinez is in the front cabin, and that's where he goes, "Hey, everybody's facing away from me. I'm good to go up here." Yeah. I was like, maybe we need to have a rotation schedule or something.
Dude, what a trip, man! That's such a neat concept, and it's just, man, it's impressive that you guys, committed to doing it and are doing it, and I mean, it's almost here.
And the team came together exactly how it should have. It's really good people. We had a couple changes in the team lineup because obviously, like, this is a big thing to commit to.
For sure.
And one of the guys, his family just couldn't quite get behind it. And I don't fault him at all. If your family's not behind it, you can't. You're not going to be in the right mental space.
Well, that's just a selfish thing to do if they're not.
Of course. Yeah. So everything came together how it should. But my wife was really cool about it. She actually said to the other wives, she's like, "Hey, we want to be married to these men that we consider, like leaders and fighters and people that stand up for what they want and people that pride themselves on being physically fit and don't hide from challenges. If you want to be married to that, just know the other side of it comes with dealing with some crazy."
Yeah.
And she goes, "But you have to understand, dealing with the crazy is what we chose as women. And if we try and tame them, we're gonna actually diminish what we love about them."
Right.
And so I was like,
that's such a good way to look at it.
Yeah, made me really happy.
Yeah.
And Jenny has been with me. I met her in 2005. It was when I just wrapped up my last deployment to Ramadi. But she was still with me through several deployments to Baghdad and then one to Erbil, which I don't even consider a deployment. Have you ever been up there? Mm-mm. It's basically like a vacation. It's up in Kurdistan. The threat level's 0. You could go to the mall and out to dinner in Erbil.
Wow. Yeah, Tikrit's the most north out.
Okay, yeah. Even though that was 20 years ago, she knows what it's like to hold the fort down while I'm away. We haven't done it since we've had children, But my daughters are now 11, 14, and 17.
Oh, wow.
And my 17-year-old is, she's like the most responsible kid in the world.
Yeah.
And so she's going to be a big help just keeping everything going, you know?
Yeah. That's
I actually tell her sometimes, like, Parent of the Year award. I'm like, will you just sneak out and go get drunk with your friends just once so I know you're like a real teenager?
Or do something wrong.
Yeah, do something wrong. Because she's like, she comes home one day and she's like, I want to go to work. I want to get a job. I said, you're going to school full time? I'm happy to support you and let you and enjoy your childhood, but simultaneously you're doing good in school and just that can be your job for right now. She goes, no, I want to go to work. So she got a job at a local restaurant, and inside of like, I think she's been there like 6 months, she has 15 grand saved up.
Damn.
And you know what she says to me the other day? Because me and my wife, one of our goals is to find a new home in the next probably 12 to 24 months. She goes, if I kick in on the down payment of the new house, can we move sooner than later? I was like, dude, I told you, go be a kid.
Dude, what 17-year-old thinks like that? Man? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Man, that's wild.
But my other two are wild animals. So I know when they get older, I'll be dealing with some crazy shit.
Yeah. So you leave May 1st. I assume the goal is by July 1st to get there?
Yep, that's the goal. Yeah. So the boat will be launched April 29th. It'll be loaded April 30th. And then our launch window begins May 1st. We want to be on the ocean between May 1st and May 10th. And I talked to, there's a sailboat race from Vancouver Island to Maui, Hawaii that's annual. And they take the exact same route.
Oh, wow.
So I coordinated a Zoom with the race director who's done the race personally 7 times, both there and back. Invaluable resource because obviously he's not rowing, but all the conditions and the hazards and the concerns are identical.
Right.
And he said that's launch window is one of the most important things because you want obviously optimal currents and winds and tides, and you want everything to work in your favor right out of the gates. Yeah. That way we chose our launch location because the one we chose prior, he goes, I wouldn't even want he goes, I've done that in a sailboat, and it can be, we were initially going to leave from Nia Bay, which is the very top northwestern tip of Washington State. And he's like, the way the currents come into Puget Sound there can be treacherous. Wow. He goes, I'd bump it south a little bit.
Yeah. Man, that's fascinating. In that window of time, I assume that you're just kind of on ready 5 waiting for them to be perfect, and then you launch and go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we already have, if conditions are congruent with launching, May 1st, 1:40 p.m., we're getting on the ocean. Because that way we can ride out an outgoing tide for like 8 hours.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I cannot wait to spectate and watch all that happen, man.
You don't want to be put on an alternate list in case someone gets hurt last minute?
You can put me on the list.
Yeah, it's just whether or not you'll show up.
Oh, dude, I missed the message. I didn't have my phone on. No, I'm where I'm at right now in my life. I wouldn't consider doing that, but for sure, sooner than later, I'll get to that point where something like that would be appealing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Are you friends with Tony Cowden?
I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I know of him, but
he's a rad human being. He's we've become pretty good friends over the last couple of years. And he was like, I just want to know what running 100 miles is like. So he went and did that. And it's like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's just
something about it. I mean, that's, to me, that's what makes you feel alive, and that's what life's all about,
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as you lose the drive and desire to do things that make you feel alive, you're essentially dead, so.
Well, and that's the thing. A lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, the majority of energy that I'm getting from people is excitement.
Yeah.
People think it's cool. They think it's interesting.
Super cool.
They want to ask questions. There is a percentage of my friends that are very worried. And they're like, you got kids. Why would you commit to something like this? This sounds crazy. And it's like, there's something inside of human beings that is a calling. Where does that come from? I don't know. But if we're the only creature in the world that if a bear starts walking up Mount Everest and it can't breathe and there's no food up there, a bear is going to say, fuck this.
This is stupid.
This is stupid. I'm going back down. The human being is the only creature with the spirit of adventure that says, I'm going to go up there for no other reason than I want to see what's up there.
Yeah. And to prove to myself I
prove
can
to
do
myself that I can. the human spirit of adventure is what's given us everything that we have.
Yeah.
If humans didn't listen to that spirit of adventure, we wouldn't be where we are.
Yeah, we'd probably be in caves.
Yeah, we would be in caves. We wouldn't have planes. We wouldn't be going to space. We wouldn't be on the ocean. Like, and obviously, there's an inherent risk in anything that we do.
Yeah.
But I think if you stifle that voice inside of you that says, "Hey, go do this," I think you're not living your full purpose.
Yeah, and I would say, generally speaking, without the risk, there is no reward.
Of course.
Yeah. Speaking of which, courage through adversity. How did that start? Where does it come from? What's the thesis behind it?
So, well, I'll tell you this: the true story of how it started. I was at Mike Glover's house in Utah, and his book Prepared was coming out, and we're sitting in his living room, and he just looks over at me and goes, "Greg, when does your book come out?" I said, "What the fuck are you talking about?" He goes, "When does your book come out?" I said, "I don't have a book coming out." He goes, "Why?" I said, "I don't know." And I said, "It's interesting you ask, because I've always thought about a book, but it's never been something that I've really committed to and put the effort in." He goes, "Well, I've always thought that like our generation of men, where we're at in life right now, it's important to share our experiences because there's another generation of men coming up behind us that are starving to consume it." Mm-hmm. And I shook his hand. I said, "Fine, I'll write the fucking book." And I said to myself, I will write 1 page a day until the book's done. However long that takes, I don't care. I'm not setting these like any type of deadline or expectation on myself. But I shook Mike's hand. I said I'd write the book. So I'm going to write 1 page a day until it's done. And it was a really interesting journey for me because people think because, I'm a black belt or I was an Army Ranger, that I'm like Jocko level discipline. I am a procrastinator. I still fight my alarm to get out of bed. Like, I'm not this just inherently disciplined person unless I commit to something. Like, when I commit to other people that I'm going to do something, you can 100% expect me to show up and show up being who I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
But that thing that I'm always, that most people struggle with, I struggle with it just like everybody else. And so the book was a long, arduous process. And I thought about it. Okay, if I'm going to write a book telling people what I think things they could implement in their life that could move the trajectory of their life towards good, if I'm going to write that and I'm going to tell that to people, I think it's important for a portion of the book to literally be a biography. Because if you're going to listen to this guy say, "Hey, I think you should do this and maybe you should implement that in your life,"
why should I listen?
I listen to you? Yeah. Who the fuck are you? So literally, like, the first paragraph is like, for my words to have validity to readers, part 1 of the book is going to be a snapshot of who I am, my life experience, the things I've accomplished, the things I'm proud of, the things I've struggled with, the depression, and that's one of the things I'm getting through a lot of feedback though. Like, that was like the rawest autobiography I've ever read. Because I'm not trying to church anything up. I talk about going on deployments where my weapon never even came off safe, right? Like, it's not this like, I'm a war hero and look how many people I killed. It's none of that shit. It's an honest snapshot of my experiences as a ranger, as a police officer, as a jiu-jitsu athlete, and then how those shaped me. And part of the goal of the book is so young men can navigate those tumultuous times in their life faster than I was able to, because they can have a resource and be like, "Oh, okay, I get it. Yeah. I see where I'm at." Like, one of the things I talk about in the book is like, when you're dealing with hard times, when you're dealing with depression or suicidal ideations, like dark phases of your life, it's very important to realize that's a moment in time. That moment doesn't define your life. It's just simply a moment. And if you walk through the storm, you can look back on it and be like, "Oh, fuck. If I just keep moving forward, I'll get out of the storm and I'll be able to put that behind me." You go through that cycle a couple times and you're familiar with it. Now it's like, I'm having a bad day, or I feel like depressed about this or that. You understand it's not something that defines you. It's just something you're experiencing.
Yeah.
And I talk about all these things in the book. So the book is, part 1 is my story, who I am, where I've come from, the things I've done. And then part 2 is our story. And the goal of part 2 is, how do we as a society collectively become better people? And the truth about becoming a better person, it's taking care of your health, it's taking care of your emotions, it's being a good husband, it's being a good father, it's figuring out ways to grow your wealth so you can set yourself free and live your dreams, and like all these little things, and you stack them on top of each other, you can be that person, like I said earlier, that when you look at yourself in the mirror, you're proud of yourself. And I was very careful in how I wrote it because I'm not a Tony Robbins. I'm not a guru. I don't claim to have like, I got all this figured out. If you do this 10-step program, you're going to be happy and wealthy. It's like, oh, that's bullshit, dude. The truth is life is a long, arduous series of ups and downs. And if you can always figure out a way to try and become a better version of yourself through both the ups and downs, I think that's how we win as men, and I think that's how we win as leaders. So the goal of the book is to have anybody that reads it, I hope that they can use the things that they've derived from the book to simply become a better version of themselves. And I talk about all these things in detail because what does society really need? Like, we can sit here and talk about Iran or Biden or the economy. We can talk about all these things. But if you're not good as who you are as an individual man first, all that, worrying about all that is for naught.
Agreed.
It doesn't do any good to anybody. If you can be the leader you're supposed to be, and if you're a family, if you're a father, whether you like it or not, you are a leader. And I think if we can get men on board, and I literally say this in the book too, as like, I'm talking to men because I'm a man. My experiences were as a man. That doesn't mean that the principles don't apply if you're a woman as well. You may just have to tweak and shift things accordingly because we are not the same. And I recognize that and I appreciate that. But if I can help people start to tweak little things in their life to when they go home at night, they're like, yep, I stacked a couple wins today. If we can all do that consistently, I think that's the foundation of shifting the country as a whole.
Yeah, I agree. I think, it all starts at home.
It all starts at home.
And even at home starts with you.
Yep.
It's the individual, and so it's...
Well, and it took me 45 years to learn this, but it's like 99% of the problems in your house are your fault.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that your wife isn't being a crazy bitch. Like, hey, sometimes it happens on a 30-day cycle, right? I get that. But if you're the leader of the household, you need to be able to understand, like, whatever the shortcomings are, what have you done to address it, and how have you took charge and been able to resolve the problem? And the truth is, like, the way to work through the majority of problems, it just comes down to ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jocko.
Yeah.
Jocko knocked it out of the park with that one.
Yeah.
Right? Taking like relatively simple military leadership concepts, yet just applying it to your life.
Yeah. What surprised you the most about writing it?
This might sound a little arrogant, but I find it to be truth. I am surprised at how well it came together and how well it reads. Because I've never been a writer. I hated school. Like, I think of myself as a fairly intelligent person, but I never thrived in school. I never thrived in English and math and whatnot. And through the process, and I didn't speak to text either. Like, that's an option now, but I literally just sat there and typed it out.
Did you do 1 page a day?
Well, here's the thing. That was the commitment. And then sometimes I'd be like 15 pages in a day because you kind of get into that flow. You get into that zone.
And then you take 2 weeks off.
Well, that's another thing, because there was days when I was like sitting there trying to write. I got to get my page. And then I arrived at the conclusion of, you know how sometimes at jiu-jitsu it's just not working? Mm-hmm. The best thing to do, or same thing on the range. Sometimes you're having an off day on the range. Sometimes it's better just to pack your gear up and leave.
Yeah.
And so what I told myself is, if I'm not willing to write because I just feel like I got writer's block or things aren't quite clicking, I'm going to spend 1 hour reviewing previous chapters that I've already written, and I'm still investing that hour into the book.
Yeah, that's awesome. Courage Through Adversity. I assume it's available on Amazon.
That's the only place it's available.
Only place.
Yep.
Okay.
I ended up going the self-publishing route. Did you do that with your book?
My last one I did, yeah.
Well, and that's what I'm hearing. More and more people are moving towards self-publishing.
Yeah, I think if you already have any sort of platform or following, reputation, whatever, I think self-publishing makes sense. If you have no presence on any type of social
you need
media,
someone to help you with a
you
campaign,
need something.
right?
Yeah, but
I didn't have any idea that when you go through a publisher, because I worked with some of Chad Robichaux's people, because he helped me like get meetings and whatnot. And if they pick you up, it's an 85-15 split.
yeah, it's brutal.
With them getting 85,
Yeah.
and you get 15 of your own book.
Yeah, I mean, my first, so the first book I wrote is really the first two, because Trident Canine Warriors got turned into Navy SEAL Dogs. Navy SEAL Dogs is like the young adult scholastic adaptation of it. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of reformatted, shorter chapters, some of the graphic language taken out. There's some more maps and pictures and stuff in it. And then Team Dog, my kind of dog principle training book. All three of those were through major publishing houses. And yeah, it was like you're getting pennies per copy.
And you get like that an advance up front.
Yeah, that you have to earn back.
You have to earn
first.
back. So like how long does that take? Obviously it's going to be different for everybody.
It varied from each book. But
the other thing that I didn't like about going through a publisher is like, man, they own the content too. And like they can be like, actually, we want to use this as the foreword, and we want to change the verbiage here, and this chapter feels like it's a little too whatever. Like, I wanted the autonomy to write how I wanted to write.
Yeah, I mean and that's going to vary from editor to editor, publishing house to publishing house, but overwhelmingly, yes. Like at the end of the day, they're going to decide what they like and don't like, and what they want rewritten, or they want this chapter here instead of there. Like, most of them are going to take primary authority in all those decisions, which sucks, you know.
So I actually went through, it's called selfpublishing.com. Are you familiar with them? Mm-hmm. And you pay a flat fee, and it was like $12,000. It was a decent investment, but you get a team of people. You get a team of, you get editors, you get formatters, you get all this stuff. And they literally go through the book just like a major publisher would.
Yeah. I went through Scribe, which I'm not even sure if they're in business anymore, but same thing.
Same process. Like, but every single change of the book, even if it's changed this period to an exclamation point, every single change in the book has to get approved by you.
Yeah.
And I just like that process. They were really easy to work with. And the other side of it is like, regardless of if you are self-published or you're picked up by a major publisher, it's something like 95% of your sales come through Amazon regardless.
Yeah.
So that's where the market's at now. So I went through Amazon, set up an Amazon KDP account. Have you looked into that?
Yeah, I have one.
Have you watched the video of how those books are produced? You should watch it. It's fascinating. The KDP print on demand machine is like 100 yards long. It's gigantic. And if someone clicks buy, signal goes into that machine, print one copy of Courage Through Adversity. And this guy on YouTube did like a tutorial and walked you through it. The front of that machine is just like thousands of pages of paper, just like just getting pulled into the machine. And it's like, it pulls the paper here, cuts it here, glues it here. It puts the spine on here and the cover, and then the cover art gets printed here. It's like this big thing. And then you walk like 100 meters down to the other side of the machine, and it's literally just spitting out books. Damn, and every book is different.
Yeah. I've actually...
It's fascinating.
Yeah. My the book that I did that with, the Unfuck America book, there were... And actually, now that I think about it, there were a few copies in even the major publishing house books that I did that were fucked up, though. That it was somebody else's book in my spine and cover.
Oh, really?
Yeah, only a few of them, you know. But I remember getting messages from people that are like, "Hey, I bought your book, and it's not your book. It's like some novel by somebody else." And it was like,
I'd be like, "Give me your address. I'm gonna send you one right now."
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, again,
But remember when like there was misprints in baseball cards when we were a kid? Like those were the ones you want.
Yeah, if my name was worth a shit, it'd be worth something. But otherwise, it's just a complaint. You know. And I guess that's what, you've arrived if a fucked up book of yours is actually worth money.
Yeah.
Because most of them aren't going to be, but.
That's funny, man.
Yeah. What a time to be alive, huh? Yeah.
And what I've found is I've really enjoyed the process of like becoming an author.
Yeah.
And like getting feedback and emails from people. Like I get some of that through my podcast already, but I'm sure you do as well. Like how cool is it to get an email from someone? And my favorite emails are from wives. It's like, hey, I just wanted to say like my husband read your book and I can already see like it lit a new fire in him and blah, blah, blah. And they talk to you about how something you did has added value inside of their household.
No, it's huge.
It's cool, man. And it feels good. And I think if more of us would be willing to put ourselves out there and do that, that again, that would be a massive tool to collectively become a stronger society. Because I can tell you, I don't know if you experienced this ever, but like there was always a part of me that was reluctant to write. Like I told you, there was always a part of me that wanted to, but then it's like that little voice inside you that's almost like imposter syndrome. It's like,
sure.
Well, I'm just a guy, like sure I did some cool stuff, but lots of guys have done cool stuff. Why would my book be something that the world needs?
Yeah.
And that's just your own voice that tries to keep you small. We have those two voices in our head, the one that wants you to become the fucking best version of yourself, and then you got that other voice that wants to keep you small. And there's no reason to have imposter syndrome for most men that come from our walks of life. You've done a lot of cool things. You have a lot of experience. There's kids out there that want to know what it was like to be us and do those things. And if they can derive value from our experiences, everybody wins, man.
Yeah, agreed. And to me, the nice thing about a book too is that, if you don't think it's worth reading, don't read it.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's no harm in sharing your story. And I think everybody has a story to share that's going to be value to somebody. I agree, like those types of messages are amazing. The other ones that I find are super rewarding. Here just a couple of days ago, I did a Zoom with an 8th grade classroom that, throughout the year, there's a couple of books that the class picks to read and they all read it together, whatever. And they picked my Navy SEAL Dogs book to read.
Oh, wow.
And then I did like an hour Q&A with them via Zoom in the class period after they had finished the book. And to me, it's such a surreal moment. Like having been through school and been through things like that where you're reading mandatory books, and there was never a time where any of the books that I read growing up where I actually got to meet the author and ask them questions about it, and to see, their genuine level of curiosity and how special and neat it was to them to ask me questions and talk to me. Like kind of similarly, it's like, who the fuck am I to warrant them being honored or whatever you want to call it to meet me to do it. But it's just such a neat experience to be able to have those types of exchanges with America's youth, and it's important, I think.
No, dude, one of the messages I already got about this book from my former high school, Snohomish High, librarian wrote me and said, we're putting your book in our school library.
Yeah.
And then I got a message from a parent that said, my daughter checked your book out today and brought it home, and I read it as well.
That's awesome.
Then the school reaches out to me and said, hey, would you like to be our keynote speaker for next Veterans Day?
Dude, that's awesome.
For our Veterans Day assembly.
That's really
And it's
cool.
Like, I said, I'd be honored to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, stuff like that is priceless. I mean, those types of experiences are what it's all about. And I think it's just absolutely amazing. I know probably my favorite memory from everything writing wise was when the Navy SEAL Dogs book came out. It was a Scholastic project. And I don't know about you, but growing up, the Scholastic book fair was such a big deal in elementary school. It was like getting that newspaper weight pamphlet with all the books and stuff in it.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Well, yeah, and so, what was really cool is my kids were in elementary school, and my book was in their Scholastic pamphlet thing.
Oh, wow.
And it's just, yeah, I mean, it like got me choked up at the time. I was just like, man, I remember how big of a deal it was to me just being able to buy the books and the book fairs and stuff, and to see my book in there when they're at that age was just such a cool experience,
Yeah.
What haven't I asked you that I should have about since the last time you've been on?
Oh man, I think we went through.
Covered all.
I think we went through most of it, man.
Yeah. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming to share your story and the copy of the book. And man, I'm just very inspired to know you and consider you a friend and be rooting you on and watching the whole process of you rolling. And if there's anything I can do to help with any of that,
Thank
please,
you, man.
Please don't hesitate.
Yeah, I've actually cut off travel because I'm a month out from the biggest expedition of my life. I'm not going to be traveling places and doing podcasts. But I was like, I'm making the exception for Mike.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That means a lot.
Because it's been a long time since we've sat down and done this. And the last time I did it, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And even before that, like, we come from a similar community. We have some mutual friends, and you've just always been a solid guy. And it's cool when you got other guys that are like building you up and being a part of your success. And I think that's an important thing for our communities to do for each other.
Agreed. And,
the one thing I want to say sounds like we're wrapping it up.
Sure.
I've been with Vortex for a long time. I'm on the Vortex team. And I mentioned that I was coming out here. And because not only you're helping me out, but all the stuff you do with dogs, with veterans, we wanted to gift you a gift package from Vortex.
Oh, wow.
With whatever you want.
Dude, that's incredible.
So you need a couple new optics and get the good stuff. Get the Razor Gen 3, some binos. Like Vortex wanted to thank you for being who you are and helping out so many veterans and just being a force for good in the world. And that's their ethos too. They're aligned with us exactly. So
Dude, I don't even know what to say to that. It's beyond humbling, and man, just super appreciative of you and them for doing that. That's of course, incredible.
Man.
Yeah,
I'll connect you after the show, and we'll make that happen.
Awesome. Thank you very much. To the listener/viewer, I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, you can choke yourself. And until next time, this is Mic Drop.